Chapter 618. Don't you have any ideas? The Bankers Club in the Zhongyin building was not as exaggerated as it was said to be, and there were not many stories. Most of the people who came here were the executives of the Shanghai financial circle. The real top tycoons had long disliked such a place because the threshold was getting lower and lower. It was not the first time that Yin Chaozong had been here. He had been here a few times in the past few years, but then he lost interest because there were too many people, and for him, most of the people here were not qualified. Today, of course, he came here because of a few rich playboys who came from afar, especially his ally. It was this ally who told him the news of Qin Sheng's return a few months ago, and also told him all the relevant information. Otherwise, he might still be in the dark now. Yin Chaozong still remembered how he looked when he heard the news. It was like a bolt out of the blue. He was completely dumbfounded. It directly destroyed all his confidence in Qin Sheng, making him feel that it was a thorny problem and the corresponding storm that followed. However, after such a long time, Yin Chaozong seemed to have recovered. Or maybe it was because Qin Sheng still did not take any action against him for such a long time, which made him feel that nothing was wrong. He knew that this might be a kind of numbness and avoidance, but he also knew that he would face Qin Sheng sooner or later. He already knew about what happened in Shangshan, Ruoshui, 2 days ago. Qin Sheng's actions were very obvious, and he was going to start taking revenge. Yi Muyang and Han Jingdong were just appetizers. After all, they were just bait and pawns back then. The real mastermind behind the scenes was him. Moreover, he had directly dealt with Qin Sheng a few times. It was just that Qin Sheng managed to escape from danger every time. Sometimes, Yin Chaozong thought about it, and had to admit that Qin Sheng was very lucky. He could escape every time, especially that time in Mount Jiuhua, which was almost a dead end. In the end, he did not know how he escaped. It was the same in Hubei. Although he had planned everything, Qin Sheng still managed to escape. Therefore, when he knew this news, Yin Chaozong seemed to understand that Qin Sheng had a master behind him to protect him. This master was the all-powerful Master Qin in Beijing, and the Qin family also had the ability to protect Qin Sheng. Taking a step back, the Qin family knew what he had done in the past. However, they did not do anything because their bottom line was that Qin Sheng was alive. Otherwise, they would not interfere with Qin Sheng's normal life. Sadly, he was kept in the dark and thought that everything was under his control. Now, it seemed that it was just a joke. Therefore, Yin Chaozong guessed that he had already been blacklisted by the Qin family. It was not that the Qin family did not take action to deal with him, but that the Qin family was waiting for Qin Sheng to deal with him personally. Yin Chaozong thought about it carefully. For the past 2 years, some of the Yin clan's businesses had been affected, and the careers of some key figures had stagnated. Could it be that the Qin clan was behind this? Also, they had forgotten the most important thing. It wasn't only the Qin family. There was also the even more tyrannical Zhu family, especially the man from the Zhu family who was in charge of Shanghai. This was the most terrifying thing. Fortunately, the relationship between the Qin family and the Zhu family was not very good. However, Qin Sheng did not know what the Zhu family's attitude toward Qin Sheng's matter was, nor did he know whether the Zhu family knew about those things. The more Yin Chaozong thought about it, the more he had a headache. He had never dared to tell his elders about this matter, because he knew what would happen if he told them. There was only one ending. He would become an abandoned chess piece and be abandoned. This was also the reason why Yin Chaozong dared to take such a risk. He would rather fight and fight than to be humiliated and die, or become an abandoned chess piece. Moreover, he also knew what the final outcome would be. He would drag the entire Yin family down with him. By then, his grandfather would have no choice but to step in. The distance from the entrance to the private room was not far. However, Yin Chaozong thought about a lot of things on the way. He was thinking about what the rich playboy from Beijing would talk to him about. Of course, he would definitely talk about Qin Sheng, because the two of them did not have much interaction. They had only met twice in the past. When he was about to reach the private room, Yin Chaozong suddenly thought of a possibility. That was, did Qin Sheng know his identity long ago and was just pretending to be a pig to eat the tiger? And Yin Chaozong was fooled like a clown. This was not impossible. However, It did not seem to make sense. Yin Chaozong simply did not care about it anymore. These were all things in the past. The most important thing now was what to do next. When Yin Chaozong and his friends pushed open the door and entered, the inside was filled with smoke. A few rich playboys were smoking cigars, drinking whiskey, and chatting. Seeing Yin Chaozong come in, the rich playboy quickly stood up and said, "Oh, Lao Yin, I have been waiting for you for a long time. You are finally here." This rich playboy was not someone else. He was Shui Ku, who had schemed to discuss Qin Sheng and had been fooled by Qin Sheng and Han Su in the end. This guy had finally recovered and directly came to Shanghai. The rich playboys present were all at the same level. Two of them did not get along with the Qin family. However, they had a good relationship with Shui Ku since they were young. That was why they were dragged to Shanghai. The reason why they chose this place was that a certain red playboy was now a local tyrant in Shanghai. When they arrived in Shanghai, they definitely had to pay a visit to the local tyrant first. This local tyrant's investment company was in the Zhongyin building. He had stored a lot of cigars and red wine in the bankers club. That was why he chose this place. The red playboy recognized Yin Chaozong. He quickly stood up and walked over. "Oh, it's Chaozong. I was wondering who the friend they were talking about was. I did not expect it to be an old acquaintance." Shueka laughed and said, "Brother Zhou, do you know Lao Yin?" The red playboy called Brother Zhou laughed and said, "How can I not know him? Chaozong is very well known in Shanghai. He is far more influential than those playboys outside. How can I not know him?" Yin Chaozong did not expect to see this Brother Zhou. They had met a few times before and chatted a few times. However, they had not been in deep contact. It seemed that he had not heard from others that this Brother Zhou had a powerful background. However, after seeing this Brother Zhou here today, Yin Chaozong immediately understood that this Brother Zhou was also a master who pretended to be a pig to eat a tiger. From the seating arrangement of these rich playboys, it could be seen that this Brother Zhou was sitting in the middle, and the others seemed to respect him. Yin Chaozong responded politely, "I did not expect Brother Zhou to be here. It's been a long time." "Haha, we have many opportunities to meet. You guys chat first. I'm going out to meet some friends. It just so happens that the vice president of Ping and Securities is inside. I'll go and have a chat with him." Brother Zhou walked to Yin Chaozong's side, patted his shoulder, and smiled at everyone. Brother Zhou was leaving? Shueka's expression changed slightly. He was just about to have a good chat with Brother Zhou. Brother Zhou was leaving. Obviously, he did not want to get involved. One of the rich playboys could not sit still anymore. He stood up and said, "Brother Zhou, you don't want to chat anymore?" Brother Zhou turned his head and smiled. "You guys chat first. I'll go and have a few words. I've already arranged the activities for tonight. You guys go all out tonight. Recently, a few new nightclubs have opened." After that, Brother Zhou, who was dressed in a suit and leather shoes, left directly without waiting for these rich playboys to reply. Gu Yoning did not follow them to Shanghai this time, so Shui could drag the others along. After Brother Zhou left, one of the rich playboys said bluntly, "Brother Zhou obviously does not want to get involved. Let him be. We don't want to use him. This kind of thing is not difficult for us," Shueka said disapprovingly. Yin Chaozong did not know what they were talking about. He just looked at them quietly. He did not feel uncomfortable in front of these rich playboys. He would not be looked down upon. He still had this bit of weight. Only then did Shueka remember that Yin Chaozong was still there. He smiled and said, "Old Yin, why are you standing? Sit down. Let me introduce them to you. This is Su Bin, this is Gao Shi. You guys get to know each other." Shueka smiled and introduced them. The two rich playboys took the initiative to shake hands with Yin Chaozong and greet him. They looked very polite and did not look down on him. This was because they felt that Yin Chaozong's status was enough to play with them. After all, the Yin family was still very influential in Shanghai. In recent years, many leaders came from Shanghai. Everyone knew the relationship behind it, so they did not dare to look down on him. After Yin Chaozong sat down, Shueka did not give him a chance to breathe at all. He went straight to the point and said, "Qin Sheng has arrived in Shanghai." Shueka was stunned. Sure enough, they were talking about this matter. He replied calmly, "I know. This response made Shueku a little uncomfortable because it was too calm. As for Yin Chaozong, he knew that this was all within Shueku's expectations. Otherwise, Yin Chaozong would have died directly. He could be played to death at any time. Shueku asked very directly, "Don't you have any thoughts?" Chapter 619. A powerful alliance all along. Yin Chaozong did not know what kind of enmity this ally had with Qin Sheng. Why did he hate Qin Sheng more than himself? It was as if Qin Sheng had killed his father and stolen his wife. Previously, he had taken the initiative to come to Shanghai to tell him everything about Qin Sheng. Now, he had once again come to Shanghai to find trouble with Qin Sheng. Yin Chaozong really could not understand his eagerness. No matter what, he had to be reserved. No matter what, he was most worried about Qin Sheng's revenge. Give him a chance to perform, big brother. This was the level of everyone's consideration. Yin Chaozong only considered the personal grudge between him and Qin Sheng, while Shueku considered the fight for family interests. In his eyes, Yin Chaozong was just a pawn who could help him a little, so he did not care about Yin Chaozong's thoughts at all. Yin Chaozong smiled. Shueku knew that Yin Chaozong definitely had an idea. He said happily, "Like I said, how could you not have any idea? Previously, Qin Sheng was too busy to take care of you. Now that he is going to stay in Shanghai for a long time, he will naturally take time to deal with you. After all, you are enemies who will not stop until one of you dies." Su Bin and Gao Shi were about the same age as Shueku, but their roots were not in Shanghai. Some elders and their families had businesses in Shanghai. After all, there were many young people who went south to do business these years. The grudge between Su Bin and Gao Shi and the Qin family was that the expansion of the Qin family in recent years had affected their interests too much, which was different from Gu Yoning's. Therefore, they could not wait for the Qin family to fall. Naturally, they also hoped that Qin Sheng would be in trouble. He will stay in Shanghai for a long time. Yin Chaozong did not know this, so he asked in surprise. Shueku replied honestly, "Why would I lie to you? I also have allies in the Chong and group. This time, Qin Sheng's main task in Shanghai is to be responsible for the reorganization of several companies of the Chong and group in Shanghai. This is also a test for Qin Sheng. After all, the Qin family paid a price for him to enter the Chong and group's board of directors. If he wants to succeed the Chong and group in the future, he needs the approval of these major shareholders. These people recognize Qin Chang'an, but not Qin Sheng." "I see," Yin Chaozong said thoughtfully. However, he still felt a little uncomfortable when he heard those words. After all, the loser who used to be at the bottom of society had now jumped to the top of the social pyramid and surpassed Yin Chaozong. How could Yin Chaozong feel comfortable? Subin looked at Yin Chaozong and said playfully, "Chaozong, don't worry so much. We are allies now. Your Yin family is deeply rooted in Shanghai. Even if Qin Sheng wants to find trouble with you, he will have to use his brain. Besides, don't you have us now? Many things aren't that simple." Gao Shi echoed. "The Qin family has many enemies, and there are many who want to cause trouble for the Qin family. As long as we join forces, we will definitely make it difficult for him to move an inch. At that time, he won't be able to take care of you." This time, what Yin Chaozong knew was much more than what he knew last time. The level was also deeper. Last time, Shueku had only told him about Qin Sheng. "Then tell me, what should we do?" "What did I do?" Yin Chaozong asked calmly. He was planning, and so were these people, so he had to figure out what they were thinking. Shueku held his wine glass and said, "Lao Yin, it's actually nothing." Shueku held his wine glass and said, "Lao Yin, it's actually nothing. It's very simple. You make use of the resources that you can use. After all, you're the local tyrant of the Yangtze River Delta. We will make use of what we can. At least in Beijing, you don't have to worry at all. We will send you first-hand information and use our resources to make up for your shortcomings in the Yangtze River Delta." "That's good." Yin Chaozong smiled and nodded. To be honest, he was still wary of these rich playboys. He was afraid that he would become their cannon fodder. If that happened, he wouldn't even know how he died. Maybe for many people, if they had a good relationship with these rich playboys, it would be of great help to them in the future. However, Yin Chaozong didn't think so. He didn't expect these things. He only hoped to solve the big problem of Qin Sheng. Shueike looked at Yin Chaozong and said very seriously, "Then can you tell me what resources you have on your side now?" Yin Chaozong didn't intend to hide this point. He said bluntly, "Just a few days ago, Qin Sheng broke one of Yi Tianming's son's legs. It should be in front of Yi Tianming. Yi Tianming has some power in Shanghai. I can find a way to contact him. I don't believe that he will swallow this. Of course, when the time comes, I may use you as my endorsement. That way, the success rate will be higher." "No problem. If you need us to help, you can tell us directly. Anyway, we'll be in Shanghai for a long time this time." Shueike nodded and agreed. This time, they were operating on two fronts. Not only would they stop Qin Sheng on Yin Chaozong's side, but they would also stop Qin Sheng on the reorganization of the Chong and Group's Shanghai company. Because some people didn't want Qin Sheng to complete this smoothly and they were unwilling to show up, they handed it to Shueike, who didn't hide his ambition. Yin Chaozong thought for a moment and said, "There are also some resources in Zhejiang. Previously, when Qin Sheng was in Shanghai, I pulled a group of people to set up a dead end for him. Unfortunately, Qin Sheng escaped from death. Now that I think about it, it should be the Qin family operating behind the scenes. However, those people have already offended Qin Sheng. I also told them about Qin Sheng's information. Now they're all worried about the revenge from the Qin family. Some time ago, I went over there to talk to them. Some people have already made up their minds to fight. Of course, some people are hesitant. If you show up, then they will definitely make up their minds. After all, the relationship between those people in Zhejiang is complicated. No matter what the final result is, it will bring a lot of trouble to Qin Sheng and the Qin family." "Lao Yan, not bad." "Awesome," Shueike said with a smile. Both Su Bin and Gao Shi's eyes lit up. This Yin Chaozong was really capable. If this was really the case, a lot of things could be done with half the effort. If it really couldn't be done, they could ask the elders of their family to come forward. Anyway, I didn't need to hide from the Qin family at all. Yin Chaozong smiled bitterly and said, "I have no way out now, so I can only prepare for a rainy day." Yin Chaozong often thought about this matter. It was really a double loss. Not only did he lose Lin Su, but he also offended Qin Sheng. He didn't get anything. It was really sad. Don't be so pessimistic. There are many things you don't know. The Qin family is not as powerful as you think. Their crisis is bigger than yours, Shueike said to reassure Yin Chaozong. Yin Chaozong took the opportunity to ask, some time ago, the outside world said that Master Qin was very likely to have an accident. Recently, there has been no news about it. What happened? The storm is still there. It just gave him a chance to breathe. However, there are still internal and external troubles. It is too difficult to get through it, because too many people want to see the Qin family fall and then eat up the Qin family. Because only interests are common allies. Don't you think so? Shueike said happily. However, Shueike was thinking in his heart, compared to the real big bosses behind the scenes, they were just pawns. Those big bosses who did not show up were the most terrifying. Yin Chaozong understood, and this gave him some confidence. The general situation was almost explained. The details had to be planned step by step. The most important thing today was to let Yin Chaozong, Gao Shi, and Su Bin get to know each other, and then get to know a few rich playboys in Shanghai who could be Yin Chaozong's helpers in the future. So Shueike stood up and said, "Okay, we are almost done talking. Let's talk about the details later. Let's find a place to eat first. This broken place is now full of the smell of money. It's boring. I still have something to do. I need to see someone. I want to accompany you to eat. Anyway, you will be in Shanghai for a long time. Tomorrow I will host a banquet to entertain you. How about it?" Yin Chaozong said with a smile. Su Bin frowned slightly and said, "Chaozong, you are not being honest." Gao Shi did not say anything. He felt that Yin Chaozong was not bad at his age. At least he would not be so weak in front of them, which was enough to earn their respect. Shueike did not think much and replied, "Since you have something to do with eating, you will have time to go to the bar. We haven't had a good drink yet." Yin Chaozong thought for a moment and agreed. "Okay, see you later." At this moment, Qin Sheng was on the way to Pudong Airport with Lin Su. He came to Shanghai to solve the trivial things in the past. but he did not know that a big net had been spread. Of course, there was a deeper inside story behind it, but he did not know it now. How long will Uncle Lin and the rest stay in Shanghai? Lin Su, who was sitting in the passenger seat, asked casually. In order to pick up the 3 members of the Lin family, Lin Su specially dressed up today. Of course, she wanted to show her most beautiful side. Who asked her to feel a sense of crisis in front of Qin Sheng now? Qin Sheng replied, maybe a week or maybe longer. It depends on their mood. We will try to find time to accompany them. This time, let Uncle Lin have a good time to relax so that he can determine his future direction. Have you settled the things in Xi'an? Lin Su asked. Qin Sheng had told her about those things in Xi'an, but she did not know what happened next. Qin Sheng sighed and said, there is still a little left. Let's see what Uncle Lin decides. I have no opinion on this. I can only do it when he decides. Okay. Lin Su nodded and then curled up in the passenger seat, looking very lazy. Qin Sheng could not help touching her hair. This woman was getting more and more down to earth. At Pudong International Airport, Qin Sheng and Lin Su stood at the arrival gate for more than 10 minutes and finally saw the 3 members of the Lin family talking and laughing. Everyone seemed to be in a good mood, with a happy smile on their faces. After all, they had not reunited for a few years. The 3 members of the Lin family also noticed Qin Sheng and Lin Su. The bodyguards of the Qin family were scattered in the crowd, so they were not too eye-catching. Wang Li and Xin Xin were very familiar with Lin Su. They knew that she was Qin Sheng's real girlfriend, a rich lady from a big family. If it was Qin Sheng in the past, they would definitely think that he was really lucky. But now looking back, they felt that they were a good match. Lin Shi, who was dressed very casually, looked at Lin Su and asked in a low voice, is that Sheng Er's girlfriend? Wang Li nodded and said, yes, what do you think? Lin Shi replied very happily, she is very beautiful, and she is worthy of our Sheng Er. The little guy in the past was now getting married and having children. Thinking about it, time really passed quickly. Wang Li said impatiently, you think that your Sheng Er is the best? His girl is also very outstanding. Okay. You have a final say. Lin Shi laughed. They were an old couple, but they still liked to quarrel. But this was the joy of life. But recently, Lin Shi had been thinking about another thing. Should he stop caring about the world and enjoy his old age, or should he start all over again? Chapter 620. As expected, Lin Shi was now in his early 50s, which was a bit awkward. If he was an ordinary person, he would be retiring soon and enjoying his old age with his grandchildren. For many business tycoons like Lin Shi, they had already started to train their successors and gradually retreated behind the scenes, no longer appearing in public. Of course, there were many people who were unwilling to be left out, but they were very few. Lin Shi's life was supposed to be like this. Before the accident, his life had already reached its peak. He was waiting for Xin and Qin Sheng to graduate and enter the company to take over. After all, Xin was just a girl, and she had to get married in the future, so he trusted Qin Sheng more. He did not stop training Qin Sheng just because he was just an adopted son. However, that incident completely destroyed his life, made him stagger in a prison, and almost broke his family. But God did not treat him badly after all. Now he finally saw the rainbow after the wind and rain. However, after experiencing these things, Lin Shi had also become indifferent to many things. He more or less hated those who were unfathomable and deceitful. But if he were to enjoy his old age, it seemed that he would not be satisfied with a peaceful life. So Lin Shi was a little hesitant. When Lin Shi and Wang Li came out with Xin, Qin Sheng quickly greeted them and took their luggage, smiling. Uncle Lin, Auntie Wang, welcome to Shanghai. Lin Shi said with some emotion. The last time I came to Shanghai was already 4 years ago. Shanghai is developing better and better, changing with each passing day. You were still studying at Fudan University back then, but now you are independent. Wang Li deliberately said, why do you like to be emotional more and more? Didn't you just stay here for a while? There are many places you haven't been to. Do you have to be emotional every time you go? After Lin Shi came back, Wang Li's life became a lot more interesting. She was no longer the kind of person who liked to quarrel with Lin Shi when she had nothing to do. With Xian, the weird girl, the family of three was happy and harmonious. Her life in Sanya during this period of time was the happiest in recent years. Lin Shi did not know whether to laugh or cry, and Qin Sheng did not say anything. Xian had already covered her mouth and could not stop laughing. These days, she had been used to this way of life of her parents. At this time, Lin Shi looked at Lin Su. Lin Shi found it interesting that Qin Sheng's girlfriend also had the surname Lin. He smiled and asked, "Don't you want to introduce your girlfriend to me? I heard a lot about her from your Auntie Wang and Xin." Without Qin Sheng's introduction, Lin Su took the initiative to greet him generously. "Hello, Uncle Lin." Since Wang Li and Xian both agreed with him, of course, Lin Shi would not have any objection. He believed in Qin Sheng's judgment. As for the thing between Qin Sheng and Su Qin, he had heard Xian talk about it. Although he felt it was a pity, this was the way of love. Maybe they were not destined to be together. Su, before I met you, I was wondering what kind of girl could make Qin Sheng fall for you. But now, I feel that he must be very lucky to find a girl like you. Ha ha, Lin Shi said happily. Of course, he was praising Lin Su. Lin Su was somewhat embarrassed as she said, "Uncle Lin, I'm lucky to have found Qin Sheng." After Lin Su said this, Lin Shi was even happier. After all, who didn't like a smart girl, let alone a girl like her? However, Lin Shi was also a little worried. He heard that Lin Su had not met the elders of the Qin family. He did not know what the elders of the Qin family thought of Lin Su. At this time, Wang Li smiled and said, "Don't let the children stand here. Let's talk in the car. Uncle and Auntie also brought you gifts. I'll give them to you when we arrive at the hotel." Two bodyguards of the Qin family walked out of the crowd and took the luggage of the three members of the Lin family. They escorted them out of the airport, got on the car, and left. Qin Sheng became a full-time driver. The family did not separate, so it was interesting to talk and laugh on the road. Lin Shi asked a lot of things about Lin Su, which made Lin Su feel a little embarrassed. Fortunately, Wang Li and Xian helped her out. Qin Sheng was so shameless that Lin Su secretly pinched him several times. The hotel that Qin Sheng booked for the Lin family was at Lujiazui. It was the Park Hyatt on the floor of the World Financial Center. This was more convenient. Qin Sheng did not need to go back and forth. Anyway, the hotels in Lujiazui were almost the same. There was no big difference. After putting down the luggage and taking a short rest in the hotel, Qin Sheng took them to dinner. The dinner was at the private restaurant on Dongdaming Road, which they had been to a lot recently. Both Zhu Qingwen and Xue Qingyin knew the female owner of the restaurant. Now Qin Sheng was also familiar with her. Therefore, when Qin Sheng arrived, the female owner was already waiting in the hall. The agreed time with Qin Sheng was almost less than 5 minutes. The female owner was still charming. No matter who she was facing, she could handle it with ease. After all, she came from Beijing. She could see that Lin Shi and Wang Li were the VIPs tonight. So she took the initiative to introduce the situation of the restaurant. After entering the private room, she worked as a waitress again, recommending dishes that were more suitable for the taste. She even personally recommended the wine, which made Qin Sheng have a good impression of her. After everything was arranged, she smiled and said goodbye. She did not forget to tell him to look for her at any time. It seemed that it was a bit of a waste of talent for such a person to stay here. But after all, Qin Sheng knew about her story. Maybe it was because he had experienced too much that he wanted to live a normal life. This woman is not simple. Although Lin Shi had stayed in there for a few years, he had met all kinds of people for so many years. How could he not see that this woman was not simple? Qin Sheng sat close to Lin Shi. The women laughed and chatted about their topics, such as the interesting news in Sanya. Qin Sheng said in a low voice, she worked in Beijing before the accident, and her position was not low. Later, she got involved with a big shot, so she took the initiative to resign. Then, she opened this restaurant. Many people came to support her. I also came here with my friend. She came from Beijing, no wonder. After Qin Sheng explained, Lin Shi also understood. Those who could stay in Beijing were definitely not simple. He had met such people before. After Qin Sheng chatted with the women for a while, the dishes were all served. He and Uncle Lin drank white wine, while the women drank red wine. Originally, Lin she wanted to bring the family of 3 to Beijing directly. Who would have thought that Qin Sheng would suddenly come to Shanghai? In the end, they could only go to Shanghai. It was also time for Xin to go back to school. During this period, she had missed a lot of classes, but Xin was already preparing for the postgraduate entrance examination. How long will you stay in Shanghai? Lin she asked with a smile. Qin Sheng replied honestly, I don't know. Maybe 1 or 2 months, maybe a year and a half. I can only go back after I finish my business. Now it's just the beginning. What's the matter? You look like you have a headache. Lin, she was a little confused. Qin Sheng explained casually, the board of directors decided to integrate several companies under the group in Shanghai into a new company. This matter was handed to me as a kind of test for me. I have no experience in this, so it's a bit tricky. You don't know. Can you find someone who does? Lin she suggested. Qin Sheng replied, that's true. Fortunately, I have a talent around me who knows about this and has already started to make arrangements. But I have no idea what the result will be. Lin she frowned and thought for a moment. In this case, it seems that I have to come back. Qin Sheng looked at Uncle Lin in surprise. He did not know what Uncle Lin meant. Was Uncle Lin going to help him solve this problem? Lin she said angrily, what? You still don't trust your Uncle Lin? Your Uncle Lin used to be a successful businessman, after all. I still have this bit of experience. I can give you some reasonable suggestions and help you to check the situation. Qin Sheng was a little excited. Uncle Lin, if this is the case, of course I'm looking forward to it. I'm just afraid that it will be too hard for you. After all, you just came out. It's not hard at all. I've been idle for so long. In this way, I can stay in Shanghai for a longer time, see Xin often, and get in touch with more cutting-edge things, Lin she explained. Qin Sheng smiled and nodded. This was a surprise. With Uncle Lin's help and Zhong Shan's operation, he had some confidence in his heart. After talking about Shanghai, Qin Sheng changed the topic and asked, so, Uncle Lin, during this time in Sanya, how are you going to solve the problem in Xi'an? Lin she put down his chopsticks and fell in a deep thought. Then he said, well, they found a lot of old acquaintances to be the lobbyists. I have to see some of them, but I won't easily forgive what happened in the past, so I've decided. Qin Sheng squinted and waited for him to continue. I've been in there for so long. Let Lao Tan and Lao Zhang stay in there for a while. As for other compensation issues, you could decide by yourself, Lin she said. Qin Sheng did not say anything after hearing this. It was expected. Because Uncle Lin was kind, the other side would definitely try to play the emotional card. Chapter 621. Learn from each other. Although Qin Sheng was a little reluctant about Uncle Lin's decision, he could only do so. Uncle Lin valued friendship and righteousness. Otherwise, he would not have been framed in the first place. It was because he trusted others too much. Now, these people who had framed him were about to be punished. For most people, they might not choose to forgive, but to take revenge crazily. For example, Qin Sheng would not forgive those who had bullied him. As many big shots said, it was God's job to forgive them. What they needed to do was to send these people to God. Lin she did not choose to take revenge crazily, nor did he choose to forgive. After all, he was not a saint. He just chose a relatively gentle way to deal with it. Since Uncle Lin had made the decision, what Qin Sheng needed to do next was to let Lu Changxi have a good talk with the Tan and Zhang families and ask for a sky-high compensation plan. In fact, these were all what Uncle Lin deserved. In this way, no matter what he did in the future, he would have a worry-free guarantee. The 2 men talked about their own things, and the 3 women talked about theirs. Since Lin she was released from prison, Wang Li's spirit was very good. It was just that her leg needed a short time to recover, so she still sat in a wheelchair wherever she went. Lin Su had already made an appointment to bring the Lin family of 3 to Disneyland tomorrow to relax. This way, she could help Qin Sheng share his burden. After all, Qin Sheng was busy during this period of time. After dinner, no one was in a hurry to go back. Instead, they wandered around the Bund, taking it as a stroll to aid digestion. At night, the Bund was very lively. There was never a shortage of people in the 10-mile ocean field. The 8 immortals crossing the sea showed their magical powers, all wanting to make a name for themselves in this city. Lin Shi used to come to Shanghai often. Every time he went there, it could stimulate his fighting spirit, so his business became bigger and bigger. It was a pity that he encountered such a thing later. Wandering around the Bund tonight, looking at the night view on both sides of the Huangpu River, Lin Shi still felt that it was difficult to calm down. It seemed that he was a person who could not stay idle. After all, he still had a lot of ambitions that he had not realized. Therefore, after returning to Xin, Lin Shi would choose to start a new business. After walking for less than an hour, Qin Sheng and Lin Su sent them back to the hotel, and then they went back to Lu Jiazui apartment. On Yin Chaozong's side, the guests tonight were the group from Zhejiang. They naturally talked about Qin Sheng, but no one else knew what they talked about. Yin Chaozong was not in a hurry to tell them about his allies from Beijing. He wanted to see who was in charge among these people. Of course, he would pay the highest price. The next day, Qin Sheng continued to be busy. Lin Su and Xin brought Lin Shi and Wang Li to Fudan University in the morning. Xin had not been back to school for a long time. If Qin Sheng had not applied for leave for her through his small aunt, her counselor would have exploded. At noon, Lin Shi and Wang Li treated Xin's roommates to lunch. The location was booked by Lin Su. It was not a very high-end place. Lin Su was afraid that if it was too extravagant, it would arouse Xin's roommates' disgust and conflict. In the future, they would have problems getting along. After all, in the past, Xin was very low-key in front of her roommates and classmates. She was even a little thrifty. She even worked part-time outside the school to earn money. That was the lowest point of the Lin family. It was not until Qin Sheng returned to Shanghai later that Xin's life changed. Moreover, whether it was Han Bing, Su Qin, or Lin Su, these women who were very close to Qin Sheng all doted on Xin, this younger sister. They bought a lot of clothes and cosmetics for Xin. Now, Xin's life was getting better and better. Not only was her father released from prison, but Qin Sheng's identity as her brother had changed drastically. She would definitely be doted on. In the afternoon, Lin Su took them to Disneyland. Qin Sheng was in the company in the morning. He went to Shangshan Ruoshui to handle some necessary procedures. Now Shangshan Ruoshui completely belonged to Qin Sheng. The era of boss he had finally come to an end. Mizan, Yu Fengji, and Liu Yuan were in Hangzhou, dealing with things there. They had already taken the initiative to resign to Chao, did not have any opinion on it. He did not ask why they resigned, where they would go next, and so on. He readily agreed, as if he had already known this day would come. After all, these people were brought here by Qin Sheng. This made Ms. In and others a little embarrassed. The only thing they could do was to help Chao to smoothly complete the handover of the company, and then quickly return to Shanghai to take over the new Shangshan Ruoshui. However, during this period, no one told Chao that Qin Sheng had returned to Shanghai. The most important thing was that Chao did not ask about these things. After coming out of Shangshan Ruoshui, Qin Sheng went to his grandmother's place on the way. Today, his small aunt was also here. Because his grandmother was a little unwell these 2 days, the medical staff had already suggested that she go to the hospital for observation. However, his grandmother was unwilling to go to the hospital and only wanted to stay in the foreign-style house. The medical staff could not persuade her, so they could only let her be. However, they sent more people to Ruijin Hospital next door if there was any problem. Because of this, his small aunt had been at his grandmother's place these days, for fear that something might happen. Qin Sheng did not know until this morning. It turned out that his grandmother had been unwilling to tell him. She was afraid that he would be worried, so he hurried over. When Qin Sheng came over, his grandmother was resting. He did not dare to disturb her. Instead, he first asked the medical staff about the situation, and then sat in the living room with his small aunt to chat. Grandma's body is getting worse and worse, Qin Sheng said with some worry. Zhu Qingwen, who was dignified and elegant and especially scholarly, frowned and said, "That's how it is when people get old. Your grandmother is already so old, and she knows her situation better than anyone else. Fortunately, the medical conditions are better now. If it were in the past, I'm afraid that she would not be able to survive the first few times. Hearing this, Qin Sheng was in a bad mood. How he hoped that his grandmother could live a few more years, so that he could accompany her for a few more years. After all, his grandmother had waited for him for more than 20 years. If there is no other way, I will talk to her later and let her stay in the hospital for observation, Qin Sheng said. Zhu Qingwen thought for a moment and said, "You can try. I guess she only listens to you now and no one else." The medical staff in the living room also echoed her. After all, during this period, the old lady liked to mention her grandson to others the most, and she would praise him to the sky. They all knew that the old lady liked this grandson the most, and it was estimated that she would listen to Qin Sheng's words. In fact, they were also under pressure. If something really happened to the old lady, they would have to bear the responsibility at that time. At this time, Zhu Qingwen mentioned intentionally, 2 days ago, when Jiahe came over and talked about you, the old lady was so angry that she wanted to beat him. When he went back, I scolded him severely. This is your cousin's temper. I heard from Jiayo that he came to you. If he said something that made you unhappy, don't take it to heart. It did not occur to Qin Sheng that his cousin would mention him in front of his grandmother. It was estimated that he had not said anything good, or his grandmother would not have been angry. This made Qin Sheng very unhappy. If you have something to say, just tell me. You know that my grandmother is not in good health, but you still have to say these things. What do you want? However, Qin Sheng still said, Auntie, it is not as complicated as you think. My cousin just wanted to talk to me. After all, I have not seen him since I came back. Well, your cousin is more like your youngest uncle when he was young, and the environment in the Frontier Army is more special, so he is different from others, Zhu Qingwen continued. To be honest, although everyone thought that she liked her youngest son Zhu Jiayo the most, only those who knew her well knew that she loved her eldest son the most. Qin Sheng thought for a moment and said, By the way, Auntie, when will my cousin return to the army? I wanted to find a chance to treat him to a meal. He came back this time for a few days, so he will go back next week. You guys keep in touch. I don't care. Of course, Zhu Qingwen was happy to communicate with these juniors, especially with Qin Sheng, so that he could really integrate into this big family. Qin Sheng smiled and did not say anything. Of course, he did not really want to treat this cousin to a meal, but he really wanted to learn from this cousin and let him know that he was not a soft persimmon. At about 2 o'clock, the old lady finally woke up, seeing Qin Sheng coming to see her. Her face was full of happiness at first, and then she complained about Zhu Qingwen telling Qin Sheng about this. Zhu Qingwen could only smile apologetically and did not dare to say anything. At this time, Qin Sheng took the initiative to let the old lady stay in Ruijin Hospital, so that everyone could rest assured. Otherwise, no one could bear the responsibility if anything happened. The old lady still had the same temper, saying that it was okay. She did not need to stay in the hospital. She did not like the hospital. Qin Sheng had to use all his means, saying that he hoped that his grandmother would be healthy and that he would hold the baby for her in the future. But he was very worried about his grandmother's health. Qin Sheng also said that he would come to see her every day. Hearing this, the old lady hesitated for a moment and finally agreed. Whether it was Qin Sheng, Zhu Qingwen, or the medical staff, they all breathed a sigh of relief and gave Qin Sheng a thumbs up. The old lady still loved him the most. In the evening, Qin Sheng was going to take Uncle Lin and Aunt Wang to dinner, but suddenly he received a call from Uncle Jiang, saying that Qing was missing. Chapter 622. Fishing in troubled waters if it were not for the old lady's illness. Zhu Qingwen would have invited the 3 members of the Lin family to dinner on behalf of the Zhu family, to thank them for taking care of Qin Sheng all these years. Otherwise, when the Lin family came to Shanghai, the Zhu family would not be a good host. No matter how high the status of the Zhu family was, the Lin family had raised Qin Sheng for so many years. No matter what, they should be grateful. If the old lady's health allowed it, she might come out in person. After all, the old lady had been murmuring about this for a long time. Unfortunately, the old lady was too weak recently, so Zhu Qingwen did not mention it. Zhu Qingwen had told Qin Sheng that he would invite the 3 members of the Lin family to dinner after arranging the old lady's affairs. Fortunately, they would stay in Shanghai for a while, or they might miss it this time. Therefore, after Qin Sheng helped his small aunt deal with Grandma's hospitalization, he was ready to meet Uncle Lin and the others and have dinner together. He did not expect to receive such a call as soon as he went out, which was somewhat unexpected. Jiang Xianbang's words on the phone were very vague. Qin Sheng had to ask the old housekeeper about the specific situation. Therefore, he did not dare to delay and hurried over. After all, everyone was busy now. Chang Baji and Hao Lei were in charge of Shangshan Roche, Brother Wu was in charge of Yin Chaozong, and Tang Shi was arranged to find the trace of Gu Xiaobo, but there was no news yet. This guy was hiding very well. In addition to the bodyguards who were responsible for protecting Lin Su, Qin Sheng did not have many people with him. Today, he only went out with Bach and 2 bodyguards. Soon, Qin Sheng arrived at Jiang Xianbang's old foreign-style house. The old housekeeper, Uncle Wang, was already waiting for Qin Sheng at the door. Seeing Qin Sheng get out of the car, he hurried over. Qin Sheng frowned. "Uncle Wang, what's wrong? What's wrong with Qin?" Uncle Wang looked very anxious. In the past, he would politely welcome Qin Sheng into the foreign-style house first. Today, he did not care about anything else and said directly, "I can't contact Qin. Her phone is off. The school said that she went back a long time ago. I have no choice but to contact you." Qin Sheng's face was serious. He asked, "Uncle Wang, has this happened before?" Uncle Wang shook his head and said, "There has never been such a situation, especially after old Jiang went abroad. Every day, Qin would tell me in advance no matter what she was going to do. Her mobile phone would never be turned off, so I'm very worried about her." Uncle Wang was right. Qinger's life was very regular. Apart from going to class, she would stay at home. Only occasionally would she go shopping with friends, but the number of times was pitiful. It was really strange that her phone was suddenly turned off and there was no news. Qin Sheng had to comfort her. "Uncle Wang, don't worry. I'll let you. Qing. Qing's SS's. Qing's SS. Qing's 1. Qing's C. I. Qing's Qing. Qing's 1. Qing's of Qin Sheng." Wang went, "Did he leave the bungalow? When did he go to school? When did he leave the school? Also, when did he turn off his phone?" Qin Sheng called Chang Baji, Hao Lei, and the 2 men who were in charge of Shanghai affairs. He asked them to send more people to look for Qin. Qin Sheng did not stay idle. He first told Lin Su that he had something to do tonight and asked her to accompany Uncle Lin and Aunt Wang. Then he rushed to the Shanghai Conservatory of Music and found a teacher who had a good relationship with Qin. He asked about Qin's recent situation in school and so on. Of course, he also asked which friends Qin was close to. After that, he made a phone call. However, no one had any news about Qin. Some said they hadn't seen her for a long time, but they started to contact their friends to ask about Qin. After being busy for 2 hours, it was completely dark outside. Qin Sheng was still not able to find Qin, which made him more and more worried. After all, if he continued to delay, the probability of an accident would increase. If something really happened, it would be hard for him to explain to Uncle Jiang, who had entrusted Qin to him. The only news he got was that the rich 2nd generation, whom he saw at the gate of the old foreign-style house, had been pestering Qin. Qin Sheng knew about it. After all, Qin had told him about it. Qin Sheng thought for a moment, wondering if there was such a possibility. That day, he had asked his subordinates to investigate this rich 2nd generation. The news he got was that he had a small background. It was not as exaggerated as what he had told Qin. It was just that his parents were in business, and he had an uncle who worked in the municipal party committee, who was the deputy director of a department with real power. His grandfather had retired with the treatment of the main hall, so he boasted a lot outside, saying that many of his relatives were high-ranking officials. Those who did not know him thought he was awesome, but those who knew him did not take him seriously, not to mention those rich 2nd generations in Shanghai. Therefore, this guy usually cheated innocent girls. He did the same thing when he was pursuing Qin, but Qin was not an ordinary girl, so he could not get her. However, This kind of man would only go crazy if he could not get her, and would not cherish those who were easy to get. He specially investigated Qing Er's background and was shocked after knowing it. Originally, he had given up, but he could not forget it. Finally, he decided to give it a try. Then he found that it was not as difficult as he had imagined, so he pestered Qing even more. Qin Sheng wondered if this guy would really use force when the soft approach failed. Moreover, he had been slapped in the face by Qin Sheng that day. Maybe he would break down and take a risk out of desperation. Moreover, Qin Sheng got the news that this guy did not pester Qing these days. Whether it had anything to do with him or not, Qin Sheng had to investigate it to be relieved. After all, he was indeed a big suspect, so Qin Sheng arranged someone to investigate it. Qing was staying in a villa in Jiabei. She was indeed cheated by the rich second generation called Hui Tao. The reason why Qing came here was that Hui Tao set a trap for her. What kind of trap could make Qing come here? It could only be Jiang Xianbang. Hui Tao did not give up. He told Qing that he really had a way to make Jiang Xianbang come back. Believe it or not, he could talk about it in detail. Then he asked Qing if Qin Sheng had taken action to make Jiang Xianbang come back. Qing honestly said no. This made Hui Tao more hopeful in his heart. So he said he had a way, and Qing followed him. But this was not Hui Tao's real intention. His real intention was to teach Qin Sheng a lesson and let him know the difficulties and retreat. Then he could take Qing step by step. Coincidentally, a friend who mingled outside said that he could help him find some people. He only needed to cooperate. Both sides hit it off, and that was what happened tonight. But he did not know that tonight he was just a cannon fodder. The real hidden behind the scenes was someone else, and the target of these people was Qin Sheng. One trap after another. Who was the one who designed this trap? Except for Yin Chaozong's side, it seemed that there was no one else. Bossy had already admitted defeat, and there was no movement. But Yin Chaozong had already started to take action. Tonight's matter was completely planned by Gu Xiaobo and Feng He. But tonight was not the main course. They just want to test Qin Sheng's current security strength. At the same time, they also wanted to test the strength of those masters who were invited from outside. If they could really solve Qin Sheng tonight, of course they would be happy to see it. But they did not think that they would be so lucky. At this moment, Feng He and Gu Xiaobo were in the remote suburbs. Qin Sheng would come here later. They just waited to watch a show. Why? You still don't believe those people I invited? Feng He frowned. Gu Xiaobo sneered and said, "You will know after you try. Then why don't you directly do it tonight?" Feng He provoked. Gu Xiaobo was not stupid. He said disapprovingly, "If Marshal Uncle Chong is not here, I can try. But if Marshal Uncle Chong is here, we should not take the risk. After all, we do not know the power of others. Tonight is just a test." Very stable, Feng He said happily. Gu Xiaobo did not bother to pay attention to him. Instead, he asked, "Will that girl be okay?" "Don't worry. I have arranged everything. That guy will not act recklessly. I am not a person who will vent my anger on a woman. I am not that despicable," Feng He replied. Gu Xiaobo was relieved. He was very disgusted with this kind of trick. After confirming again and again, he agreed to this matter. Chapter 6:23. Be ready at all times. Gu Xiaobo was not a wicked person. He had no choice but to betray Qin Sheng and Chang Baji for the sake of a woman. After all, everyone cared about different things. Some people thought that love was more important than anything else, while others thought that trust, loyalty, morality, and so on were the most important things in their hearts. Therefore, Gu Xiaobo had always felt guilty about that matter. Moreover, he had caused the death of his junior brother, Gu Qingyang, but he had never regretted it. If he had regretted it, he would not have gone down the dark path. However, Gu Xiaobo was still a very principled person. For example, in today's matter, others used women to threaten him. Now, he naturally disliked using women to threaten others. Therefore, he had to make sure that nothing would happen to the woman named Qing Er. Otherwise, Feng He would not even need to make a move. He would definitely make the man named Hui Tao suffer a fate worse than death. Since Qin Sheng had arrived in Shanghai, Gu Xiaobo had been keeping an eye on him. Of course, they had seen what had happened at the gate of the old foreign-style house that day. Therefore, he contacted Hui Tao and gave him such an idea. At this moment, in the villa in Jiabei, Hui Tao was still chatting with but Qing-er's mobile phone had been taken away and turned off. At present, Qing-er still did not believe Hui Tao, and it was already so late. She wanted to go home, but Hui Tao did not let her go. She finally felt that something was wrong, but it was too late. Qing-er, do you really not believe me? Hui Tao begged bitterly. Qing-er's face darkened as she said, "Let me go home first. It's too late. I want to go home. Since you don't believe me, I will do something to make you believe me and let you know that Qin Sheng is a liar," Hui Tao said angrily. When Qing-er heard this, she was shocked and said, "What do you want to do? You don't have to worry about that. You'll know when the time comes." Hui Tao snorted and walked out of the room. He even locked the door from the inside, completely locking Qing-er inside. This time, Qing-er was completely flustered. She regretted coming to Hui Tao today. Now she even got Qin Sheng involved. From Hui Tao's words, he wanted to make trouble for Qin Sheng. If anything happened to Qin Sheng because of her, she would really feel guilty for the rest of her life. However, what could she do now? She was trapped in this room with no way to get out. Even her mobile phone had been taken away. She could not do anything even if she wanted to tell Qin Sheng. The more she thought about it, the more regretful she became. In the end, she even cried anxiously. Why was she so stupid? Why did she not believe him? In the living room outside the villa, Hui Tao walked out angrily. When his friend saw Hui Tao's expression, he laughed and said, "Tao, what's the matter? You still can't understand me. I really want to force myself on you right now," Hui Tao shouted through gritted teeth. Hearing this, the friend was startled and hurriedly comforted him. "Women need to be patient. I think you like this woman very much. If you want to marry her, you need to take it slow. If you just want to have fun, I have nothing to say. I'll give you a chance." Hui Tao did not speak, and no one knew what he was thinking. Maybe he had been chasing for half a year, but he had not succeeded. So now he not only wanted to get Qing-er's body, but also wanted to get Qing-er's heart. It seemed that this was a sense of accomplishment. If it was only for sexual desire, he could casually find a woman and have fun every night. "When do you want to do it?" Hui Tao changed the topic. He didn't want to talk about Qing-er's problem anymore. The gangster, who had a good reputation in Shanghai, said happily, "You can call that man now and tell him the specific meeting address. I've already arranged it. Brother Wu, I'll remember this. I'll pay you back later." Hui Tao was grateful. No matter what, Qin had helped him a lot. Brother Wu said disapprovingly, "We're brothers, so don't talk nonsense. But I have to make one thing clear. I'm here to help you this time. But if something happens, don't betray me. Otherwise, we can't be brothers anymore, and I won't forgive you." Brother Wu said disapprovingly, "Brother Wu, you're a good friend." Hui Tao laughed and said, "Brother Wu, don't worry. I'm not that kind of person. You know me." Brother Wu smiled, but didn't say anything. But his eyes were full of schemes. Hui Tao didn't know that. But what did Brother Wu know? He was just a pawn of Feng He, a cannon fodder who would be sacrificed later than Hui Tao. Hui Tao had already got Qin Sheng's mobile phone. Of course, he got it from Qing-er's mobile phone. Then he turned it off. At this moment, he took out the strange mobile phone he had prepared and slowly dialed Qin Sheng's number, waiting for him to fall into the trap. In Jing and District, Qin Sheng was on his way to the Municipal Public Security Bureau. He wanted to check the surveillance video near the Music Academy and the road surveillance to see if he could find Qing-er's car. At this time, he suddenly received a strange call from a Shanghai number. Qin Sheng had to think about it. When he picked up the phone, Hui Tao said bluntly, "I'm Hui Tao. You know me. I want to talk to you. Do you dare to come?" "It's you." Hearing this, Qin Sheng's face immediately became gloomy. He sneered. Hui Tao laughed and said, "Yes, it's me. But don't worry, I won't hurt Qing-er. I just want to talk to you. Do you dare to come?" Address. Qin Sheng didn't waste time and got straight to the point. Hui Tao directly told Qin Sheng the address, which was the deserted place in the suburbs that Brother Wu had chosen. It was an hour and a half away from the city. After telling him the address, Hui Tao didn't forget to remind him, "Remember, it's just you. If you dare to bring others, don't blame me for being rude." "Don't worry, it's just me," Qin Sheng said disdainfully. After hanging up the phone, Qin Sheng immediately told Boshin, who was driving to the Municipal Public Security Bureau, and went directly to the suburb that Hui Tao had mentioned. Boshin frowned and said, "Young master, what are we going to do there?" "To meet our opponent," Qin Sheng said disapprovingly. Then he called Chong Baji and said, "Lao Chong, there's news." Then Qin Sheng told Chong Baji about Hui Tao's phone call. Chong Baji thought for a moment and said, "Do you believe what he said?" "I doubt it," Qin Sheng said honestly. Chong Baji analyzed, "I think it's better to be careful. Don't let the mantis stalk the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind it. Then the loss outweighs the gain, and I suspect that Qing is not there at all. So I suggest that half of you go there with us, and the rest stay in the city to continue searching, especially the Municipal Public Security Bureau. With the powerful surveillance system in Shanghai, you may be able to find Qing." After hearing this, Qin Sheng felt that Chong Baji was very thoughtful. It was not that he was afraid of anything, but that his identity was special, and he was in the Yangtze River Delta, where there were many enemies. It was better to be safe than sorry. "Then do as you say." Qin Sheng made up his mind without hesitation. Qin Sheng had already told Xue Qingyan about the Municipal Public Security Bureau and the Traffic Police Brigade. This time he did not bother his small aunt, because she was still busy with Grandma's affairs in the hospital. Several groups of people moved separately. The group in the city was led by Brother Wu, who rushed back. The man in charge of the Municipal Public Security Bureau and the Traffic Police Brigade was in charge of the man in charge of Shanghai affairs. After all, they also had resources. On the other side, Qin Sheng led Chong Baji, Hao Lei, Bak, another person in charge, and many bodyguards to the suburbs. When Qin Sheng was making the call, Hui Tao had already set off in the Jiabei villa. Before leaving, he asked Brother Wu, "Brother Wu, won't you go with me? It's such a small thing. Do you need me to go with you? Look at you. I've arranged everything. They're all good people." Brother Wu did not know whether to laugh or cry. Hui Tao felt that something was wrong, but he did not say anything. In the end, he went there alone, of course, with two of his own people, so that he could rest assured. In the suburbs, Gu Xiaobo and Feng He had nothing to do. The masters they invited from other places were already in place. Now, they were just waiting for Qin Sheng. At this time, Feng He received a call from Brother Wu. After hanging up, he said with a smile, "It's coming. The show is about to start. We're ready to go." Gu Xiaobo looked very calm. Tonight might decide his life, or it might be a false alarm. At present, he did not know anything. At that time, if he really wanted to take action, the possibility of failure was very high. Gu Xiaobo was already prepared, but he would not wait for death. He would definitely go all out. Chapter 624. Making a decisive decision, the Yin clan did not lack money, and Feng He's side did not lack resources. Money could make the world go round. Therefore, it was not difficult to spend a lot of money to find a few truly awesome big shots. Of course, they might not be able to invite those hidden experts, but within the scope of the money they could spend, these few people could definitely be considered as first-class experts. However, after all, it was not Feng He who hired them. Of course, he had to know if the money was worth it. That was why he tested them tonight. He could explain to the Yin family when the time came. He could not let others think that he had wasted his money. By then, not only would they think that he was not capable enough, but they would also think that he was pocketing his own money. This time, they had invited a total of 4 experts. 2 of them were from Shandong, and the other 2 were from Sichuan. Each of them offered a price as high as 1 million yuan. However, this amount of money was nothing to the Yin clan as long as they did a good job. At this moment, these masters were hiding on the facade of an abandoned farmhouse in the suburbs, waiting for him to walk into the trap. By then, they would definitely do their best to make the buyer believe in their strength. After all, they had only given him a 30% deposit. The rest of the money would come later. Hui Tao arrived first with 2 friends. These 2 friends were not martial artists. They were just trainers in the gym. They often ate, drank, and played with Hui Tao and often took advantage of him. Of course, they had to help Hui Tao today. Otherwise, how could they be friends in the future? After seeing the so-called masters at the place that Brother Wu mentioned, Hui Tao more or less did not believe that these men in front of him were very capable. They were either ugly or stupid. He really did not know where Brother Wu found them. One of them was even an old man in his 50s. "Can you fight?" Hui Tao asked with some disdain. These men seemed to have no intention of answering Hui Tao. After all, they already knew what was going on. This fool in front of them was still kept in the dark. It was pitiful and sad. One of Hui Tao's friends shouted, "I don't know where you found them. With their size, I think I can fight 5 of them at once." Another friend replied in a low profile, "I'm not as good as you. I can only fight 3 of them at once." After saying that, they looked at each other and laughed. Hui Tao also felt that they were right, so he laughed too. Did this Brother Wu have no subordinates? The few men were ridiculed in such a way, of course. They were very unhappy in their hearts, but they knew what to do later, so they didn't care. Who knew that these men did not speak? Hui Tao's friends were even more presumptuous, thinking that, as they said, these were all trash. At this time, a slightly younger man finally couldn't help but stand out and say, "Both of you, come at me together. If you can hold on for a minute, it's your win." Although he said he was young, he was actually in his 30s. Perhaps compared to the silence of the others, he was still not calm enough. The bearded old man next to him shouted, "Qian Dong, don't mess around. Don't ruin our business." The man named Qian Tong replied with a smile, "Master, don't worry. They're just 2 good-for-nothings. I promise I'll deal with them within a minute." The 2 trainers were already annoyed and eager to have try. Now they were even more irritated. They scolded, "F***CK. No one has ever dared to talk to me like this. I'd like to see how capable you are and who is the loser here." Hui Tao was a little worried. On the one hand, he was afraid that Brother Wu would be angry. After all, he did not dare to provoke Brother Wu, and these people were Brother Wu's subordinates. On the other hand, he was worried that if they fought first, what would he do when Qin Sheng came later? Therefore, Hui Tao advised, "I think it's okay. Don't make trouble." Qian Tong did not take Hui Tao's words seriously. He walked straight over, faced the 2 muscular trainers, and said, "Let's fight together." The 2 trainers were hesitating whether they should make a move or not. After all, they were helping Hui Tao tonight. However, Qian Tong did not care about this, nor did he care who would make the first move. He took 2 steps forward first, went straight to the trainer on the left, and threw a punch at his face. The 2 trainers were shocked. They did not expect that this man would make a move without saying a word. They had thought that it was just a verbal attack, but now they could only fight in a hurry. Seeing that Qian Tong's fist was already in front of him, the trainer, who practiced boxing and sanda in daily life, hurriedly dodged to the right and punched Qian Tong at the same time. The corner of Qian Tong's mouth curled up in disdain. He calmly retracted his fist and then suddenly grabbed the man's wrist. Taking advantage of the situation, he struck the man's neck with his elbow. The man was instantly knocked back several steps. He had no chance to dodge or fight back. The other trainer took advantage of the situation and approached Qian Tong, giving him a combination of punches. However, in Qian Tong's eyes, this kind of skill was not a threat at all. Qian Tong did not step back at all. He just stood there and dodged the attacks calmly. This was both disdain and provocation. The trainer was very annoyed and increased his strength. However, Qian Tong still did not give up. He thought, "No matter what kind of punches and kicks you have, I will stand here and let you hit me at will." Qian Tong might have felt bored, or he might have seen the other trainer rushing over. Taking advantage of the man's weakness, Qian Tong directly punched his chin with an uppercut, followed by a knee strike. The man was instantly killed and flew backward. The trainer behind him was already approaching. Qian Tong suddenly changed his previous gentleness and rushed forward. When he was about to get close to the man, he suddenly took a step forward and kicked the man's shoulder. Like his friend, the man was instantly hit against the wall. Just as he said, Qian Tong defeated the 2 trainers in less than a minute. What was the use of training such strong muscles? He was only strong in appearance, but weak in reality. Qian Tong's companions were not interested in this at all. They casually glanced at him, and went back to their own business. They knew what the result would be. If Qian Tong could not even deal with these two men, then the Yin family would not have paid him $1 million to come here. Hui Tao was dumbfounded. He did not expect this ordinary-looking man to be so powerful. His two gym friends were no match for him at all. Usually, they could fight very well. He had even seen them compete, but in front of this man, they could not even last for a minute. Hui Tao was afraid that this man would cause trouble for him. He was so scared that he did not dare to speak until this man turned around and walked to his companions. He quickly ran over to see how his two friends were doing. They were still 3 kilometers away from the suburbs. Qin Sheng and the rest had already arrived, but Chang Baji and Hao Lei were still on the way. It was estimated that it would take them another 10 minutes to arrive. I'll go over first. You guys wait here. If there's an accident, you guys can rush over, Qin Sheng ordered. Bai disagreed. Young master, you can't do that. If something happens to you, it'll be hard for us to explain. Let me go with you. Qin Sheng thought for a moment. It seemed that he was being too careless. After all, he was not clear about the situation over there. If it was really a trap for him, wouldn't he be walking right into it? Okay. Qin Sheng nodded and agreed. Before leaving, Bahi told the others to wait for Chang Baji and Hao Lei to arrive and then act according to their instructions. Therefore, Qin Sheng continued to drive forward with Bahi. Not long after, they arrived at the designated place. After they got out of the car, there seemed to be no one around. Bahi was a little nervous, but Qin Sheng just frowned. He hoped that Qin was fine. Then, Qin Sheng took out his phone and dialed the strange number just now. When it was connected, he said, "I'm here. Where are you?" Hui Tao, who received the call, said in a low voice, "Wait, I'm coming." After hanging up the phone, Hui Tao asked the few men politely, "He's here. Shall we go over now?" The few men did not respond and just walked straight out. Not far away, in a place with a wide view, Feng He said to Gu Xiaobo, he only brought one person. "This Qin Sheng is really bold. What should we do?" Gu Xiaobo asked. Feng He decided without hesitation. "Do you want to miss such an opportunity?" Gu Xiaobo immediately understood what he meant. But just as Hui Tao and his men walked over, Qin Sheng suddenly received a call from the city. The content of the call was that Qin Er's Porsche had been found in a villa community in Jiabei. They could confirm through the surveillance video inside the community that after Qin entered the community, she had not left yet. Therefore, the conclusion was that Qin was not here, and this was just a cover. Then, why did Hui Tao call Qin Sheng over? Obviously, it was not good for Qin Sheng. Therefore, Qin Sheng immediately said to Ba He, "Retreat." At this time, Hui Tao and 5 or 6 men were almost in front of Qin Sheng. After all, the distance between them was not far. Seeing that Qin Sheng was about to turn around and get into the car, Hui Tao shouted, "Why? Are you afraid?" The few men behind also realized that Qin Sheng was about to leave. If they let Qin Sheng run away, they would definitely scold him to death, although they did not know what happened. Therefore, they pushed Hui Tao away and directly rushed past Hui Tao, heading straight for Qin Sheng. Qin Sheng instantly felt that something was wrong. These people in front of him were definitely not simple, because he was too familiar with this feeling. That was the smell of danger. Chapter 6:25. A false alarm. All of this happened too suddenly. Both sides made decisions based on their instincts. It could only be said that Qin Sheng's phone call was too timely. Otherwise, he would be in danger. According to the information that Chang Baji had investigated, this Hui Tao did not have a powerful background at all. Yet he dared to take such a big risk and do such a crazy thing. If there was really an accident, his so-called background would not be able to keep him safe. Then, he was either bluffing and deliberately scaring Qin Sheng so that Qin Sheng would retreat. After all, Qin Sheng knew him well, but he did not. That was why Qin Sheng came to see Hui Tao. He did not think that he was really in any danger. Of course, there was a second possibility, which was that Hui Tao was just a cover and there was a mastermind behind him. However, Qin Sheng did not think that it was such a coincidence. He and Hui Tao had only met that day. How many people knew about it? And how many people would set up this trap? But life was like this. The more you thought it was impossible, the more likely it would happen. What happened tonight was like this. It could only be said that the opponent was more sinister and cunning than he had imagined. He would not miss any opportunity. Before this, Qin Sheng had not found any danger. He had only taken precautions. It was not until he received the phone call and saw the men behind Hui Tao that he suddenly understood. Qin Sheng had experienced too many dangerous moments. Not to mention what happened during the 2 years of travel, just the life and death situations that he had encountered in the past few years. Sending Han Guoping back to Gansu for burial counted as one. Mount Jihuat definitely counted as one. Hubei Huang may county even more so, and most recently, he was attacked in the alley some time ago. Qin Sheng was lucky to escape these dangerous moments. This made him more and more aware of what danger was, and he became more and more sensitive to it. For example, at this moment, Qin Sheng turned around and ran away with Bahi. He knew that it was too late to get back in the car. The men did not give him a chance and rushed over like tigers. Bahi did not ask Qin Sheng what happened at all. He just turned around and ran with Qin Sheng. He was a little depressed. Last time when he was at the junction of 3 provinces in northern Gansu, he did not have time to show off after returning to Beijing. Why did he have to run away again? Feng He and Gu Xiaobo could see the situation below from a high point in the distance. Such a change surprised them. Feng He was very surprised. What's going on? Gu Xiaobo frowned. How would I know? What went wrong? Gu Xiaobo and Feng He didn't know, but they couldn't miss this opportunity. If they missed it, they didn't know when they would get the chance again. Feng He made a decision immediately and said, "Go after him. We can't let him escape." After saying that, Gu Xiaobo immediately ordered his men to block all of Qin Sheng's escape routes and let the 4 men kill Qin Sheng. After that, Feng He said to Gu Xiaobo hurriedly, "Let's go." "Where are we going?" Gu Xiaobo narrowed his eyes and asked. Feng He said angrily, "Where else can they go? Let's go down and help them. There are only 2 of them. Even if they have backup, they won't be able to get here in a short time. What are you afraid of?" Gu Xiaobo was a little hesitant. He thought that the trap he set tonight was too simple and it would not do anything to Qin Sheng at all. Moreover, he did not believe that Qin Sheng did not have any other tricks. However, to be honest, due to Qin Sheng's underestimation of his enemies tonight, there was indeed no backup plan on this side. It was just that other people were waiting behind to provide support in case something happened. Chang Baji and Hao Lei had not arrived yet. However, Qin Sheng's luck was better. Because the phone call was too critical, it could be said that Qin Sheng had escaped a disaster. After calling Qin Sheng, Chang Baji also received the news. At the same time, those people who were waiting for Qin Sheng a kilometer away also received the news. Hence, they did not hesitate to rush over to support Qin Sheng. Chang Baji and his men also directly came to this place. At this time, they were already very close to Qin Sheng. Therefore, when Qin Sheng and Bahi ran back, Gu Xiaobo did not know how many people would support Qin Sheng, let alone that Chang Baji and Hao Lei had also arrived. Qin Sheng's speed was very fast. If he could not run fast, then when could he run faster? Bahi was a little unable to keep up with Qin Sheng's pace. At this time, those few men were already catching up. Qin Sheng had already felt it, but he seemed to have heard the movement not far away and knew that their people were already rushing over. At this time, Bahi was finally caught up and was directly kicked over by Qian Tong. Bahi fell to the ground in a somewhat embarrassing manner, and because of the inertia, he even rolled on the ground twice. Qian Tong obviously had no interest in him, but Bahi, who got up, went straight to him. He did not want to let Qian Tong overtake him to chase after Qin Sheng. Although Bahi's skills were not good, his ability to withstand attacks was really amazing. Even Nangong was able to beat him up without any problems. The last time in the northern part of Gansu, he seemed to be fine. Even Nangong was worried that there would be some internal injuries, but who knew that he was really fine. Bai's attack was very simple. He directly hugged Qian Tong's waist and threw him to the ground. No matter how Qian Tong hit him, Bai did not let go until Qian Tong kicked him away. The other 3 people continued to chase after Qin Sheng. They did not expect Qin Sheng to run as fast as a rabbit in the mountains. They were not his opponent at all. They thought that they had missed the opportunity, But Qin Sheng suddenly stopped in his tracks and turned around to face them alone. This made the three people a little confused. They did not know what was going on. Could it be that there was some kind of conspiracy? Qin Sheng did not have any other intentions. It was because he did not want to abandon Ba He and let him face the danger alone. What happened last time would happen again. The reason why Qin Sheng dared to stop in his tracks was because he had already seen the reinforcements not far away. They were riding in a few cars and rushing over at the fastest speed. It could be predicted that Chang Baji and Hao Lei had also arrived. Otherwise, how could there be so many people? That was why Qin Sheng was so confident. The first person Qin Sheng met was Qian Tong's master. The old man in his 50s had already turned white. He did not know what he was doing out here instead of enjoying his retirement at home. Qin Sheng did not advance, but took the initiative to meet the old man head-on. With a tricky kick, he advanced towards the old man. Feng had already told them about Qin Sheng's strength, so Qian Tong's master was not arrogant. Instead, he went all out and avoided Qin Sheng's attack calmly. Qin Sheng did not continue to be entangled with him. Instead, he changed his target to the middle-aged man on the left. A combination of punches went straight to his ribs. The middle-aged man was unfazed by Qin Sheng's attack. Just as he was about to fight back, Qin Sheng slipped away cunningly. This was because Qin Sheng felt that danger was approaching. The only man left in the dark was quietly looking for an opportunity. This man was relatively skinny and did not have much flesh on his face. His eyes were sunken and his eyeballs were exposed, which made him look very scary. What was more frightening was that this man had been silent, but he gave people the feeling that he would go berserk at any time. He was also the strongest among the dead. Sure enough, even though Qin Sheng felt the danger, he still did not dodge. This man appeared in front of him in an instant and even judged the route of his retreat. Then, he hit the back of Qin Sheng's waist with his knee. Qin Sheng instantly flew out. Fortunately, he adjusted his posture in the air, so when he landed on the ground, he was not so embarrassed. However, he still felt that this man was dangerous. His whole back was burning with pain. After cursing a few times in his heart, Qin Sheng was ready to receive the second wave of attacks from these three men. At this time, Qian Tong's master suddenly shouted, "The master wants us to go immediately, immediately." The thin and somewhat hunched man was about to rush to Qin Sheng, but when he heard this, his face became very ugly. He clenched his fists and was about to go berserk. Qian Tong's master shouted again, "Go, if you don't go, you will bear the consequences." After that, Qian Tong's master ran in the opposite direction. When he passed by Qian Tong, who was entangled by Ba He, he grabbed Ba He's shoulder and threw him out. The poor Ba He was directly thrown into the ditch next to him. He did not even have time to react. Qian Tong followed his master, and the middle-aged man also followed closely behind. Only the hunched man was still hesitating. However, he had already seen that the reinforcements of the man in front of him were already in front of him. If he did not leave now, there would be no more chances. Therefore, he could only say to Qin Sheng ruthlessly, "You will definitely die in my hands." After this time, without hesitation, he directly went into the farmland next to him and disappeared into the night. At this time, Chang Baji and Hao Lei finally arrived. After the others parked the car, they directly went out to chase after them. They did not intend to just let it go. Chang Baji and Hao Lei did not act impulsively. Instead, they quickly walked in front of Qin Sheng and asked, "How is it?" Instead of answering, Qin Sheng asked, "Where is Qing?" Chang Baji immediately replied, "I have found her." Only then did Qin Sheng feel completely relieved. He was afraid that there would be another accident, and then he replied in a low voice, "Let's go back and talk." Ba He, who was battered and exhausted, but not seriously injured, had already climbed out of the ditch. This guy was really tough. He was beaten up like nothing happened to him. He even pointed at Hui Tao with a puzzled face and asked, "What should we do with this guy?" Qin Sheng did not know whether to laugh or cry. "Bring him back." The group of people left just like that. Chapter 626. A Bigger Plan? Qin Sheng quite liked Ba He's character. He faced difficulties head-on, but was adaptable to circumstances. Just like what happened just now, Bahi was very clear about his own strength. So he only had one goal, which was to pester Qian Tong, who was the first to approach Qin Sheng. Later on, he fought with Qian Tong. It was obvious that he could only take a beating, but he did not take a step back. Qian Tong was helpless and was finally thrown into the ditch. After it was over, Qin Sheng was fine, and Bahi was not angry at all. It was as if this was nothing. He was all smiles, and Qin Sheng was really impressed. If Qin Sheng knew how Nan Gong and Bahi got along when they were in Gansu, he would know what was going on. On the way back, Chang Baji and Hao Lei sat in the same car and began to review the ins and outs of the whole thing to dig out the real mastermind. Whether it was Qin Sheng, Chang Baji, or Hao Lei, they all felt that what happened tonight was too strange. It was definitely not Hui Tao's doing. After all, his background was there, and his ability was naturally just so. The four men's strength is not simple. Hui Tao does not have a strong background. Obviously, he is not his man. Moreover, it was obvious that the four men did not take Hui Tao seriously at all, so there must be a real mastermind behind this. Qin Sheng squinted his eyes and said, of course, Qin Sheng was very unhappy that he was almost set up by someone, let alone the current Qin Sheng. Chang Baji replied in a low voice, we will find a mastermind eventually by following the clues. At that time, we will fight back. Hao Lei echoed, Lao Chang is right. Hui Tao is in our hands. He must know something. I don't believe that he will not speak. Hao Lei had already thought of several ways to torture Hui Tao. He dared to set up a trap for Qin Sheng. He must have eaten the guts of a leopard. When the time comes, he must make him regret it. Qin Sheng said in a low voice, actually, there are only a few possibilities. The first one is Boss Yi, who suffered a loss a few days ago. His son's leg was broken by me. If he is not angry, then it would be strange. But I think the possibility is not high. Boss Yi does not have that kind of impulse. After all, he knows my background. The second one is Yin Chaozong, or the group of people in Zhujiang, or they conspired together. This is very likely. The Yin family has the power in Shanghai, and with the help of the group of people in Zhujiang, it is not difficult to do this. The third possibility is that Beijing's enemies are hiding in the dark. Last time in Shanghai, we experienced this scene, and tonight it is the same, so the possibility is also very high. Chang Baji nodded silently. Your analysis is very correct. It seems that we have to increase your security in case of any accidents. Qin Sheng chuckled. Why should I be? Why not take the initiative to attack? After dealing with Yin Chaozong and the people from Zhujiang, there's only one possibility left. Are you going to fight? Chang Baji frowned, but he was looking forward to it. Qin Sheng nodded silently and said, it's time to take action. Let's see how your preparation goes. I'll look into it personally in the next few days, Chang Baji said solemnly. Xue Qingyan, who had gone to other places, asked about the situation. Qin Sheng, avoiding the important and dwelling on the trivial, explained that it was just a false alarm. He had found Qing and told her not to worry. Xue Qingyan did not ask more. She just told him to contact her if anything happened. Jiang Xianbong's old foreign-style house had not been so lively for a long time. The Qin family's bodyguards were everywhere. Qing, who was in the living room, was a little restless. Everything happened today because of her. Qin Sheng did not answer her call, which meant that he was really angry. The housekeeper, Uncle Wang, was very relaxed. He had already called Jiang Xianbang and told him that Qing was fine. But thanks to Qin Sheng, Qing wanted to say a few words to Uncle Wang, but in the end, she blamed herself and dared not say anything. Jiang Xianbang could understand Qing, so he did not say much. At this time, Qin Sheng walked into the old foreign-style house slowly, while the others were waiting outside. After Qin Sheng entered, Brother Wu signaled the others to leave. The old housekeeper also went upstairs and left, leaving only Qin Sheng and Qing in the living room. Qin Sheng looked very unhappy. This kind of unhappiness was not because of Qing recklessness tonight, which caused so many things. He was unhappy because Qing did not trust him. He had told Qing everything, but Qing still did such a thing. How could Qin Sheng be happy? Qing did not dare to look at him. She just lowered her head and intertwined her hands. Qin Sheng stared at her, as if waiting for her to give him an explanation. Not to mention that it was totally unnecessary to use so many resources of the Qin family tonight. Secondly, it put him in a difficult position. He was almost set up by others. However, Qing was glad that Qin Sheng was fine. When Hui Tao said that he wanted to meet Qin Sheng, Qing was shocked. If something happened to Qin Sheng because of her, she really did not know that she would really feel guilty for the rest of her life, so she had been very anxious. When the bodyguards of the Qin family rescued her, the first thing Qing asked was whether Qin Sheng was fine. At that time, the things in the suburbs were not over yet. The bodyguards told her that they did not know. Therefore, Qing was very worried. It was not until she was on the way back to the old foreign-style house that she learned that Qin Sheng was safe and sound. At this time, Qing finally could not stand this atmosphere. After making up her mind, she slowly walked to Qin Sheng and murmured with her head lowered, "I'm sorry. I know I was wrong. Don't be angry." Qin Sheng did not say anything. Qing, who became more nervous. "I really know I was wrong. Don't ignore me. If you are angry, you can beat me and scold me. As long as you calm down, it will be fine." Qing said with grievance. This time, she saw a different Qin Sheng. He had never behaved like this in front of her. Seeing Qing like this, Qin Sheng suddenly felt relieved. He said coldly, "Sleep early. I'm going back." This sentence directly crushed Qing to death. That was because it was more terrible than beating her and scolding her. That was disappointment and indifference. After saying that, Qin Sheng turned around and left. Qing was completely panicked. She was afraid that Qin Sheng would ignore her from then on. She stretched and hugged Qin Sheng from behind impulsively. "Don't go. I'm sorry. I was wrong. Don't ignore me." As she spoke, Qing began to sob in a low voice. She was really helpless at this time. She knew she had made a big mistake this time. However, she really wanted her uncle to come back. As long as there was a glimmer of hope, she would fight for it. Unexpectedly, she was cheated by Hui Tao. Anyway, she was to blame for what happened tonight. She really blamed herself. Qin Sheng did not turn around. He just gently let go of Qing's hands and said, "Don't think too much. Have a good rest these days. If you still believe me, I will handle Uncle John's affairs. It's too late. I'm going back. You should also sleep early." This time, Qin Sheng did not give Qing any more chances. He directly left the old foreign-style house. Qing watched Qin Sheng leave. She suddenly felt that the distance between them was getting farther and farther. She regretted what she had done tonight more and more. Finally, she could not help but burst into tears. The old butler, Uncle Wang, who was at the stairs, let out a long sigh. When Qin Sheng returned to the central apartment in Lujiazui, Lin Su was still awake and waiting for him. He did not ask why he came back so late tonight. What happened? He just waited for Qin Sheng to sit down. Then he stood behind Qin Sheng silently and massaged his shoulders. "Are you tired?" Such a simple sentence was worth all the care and concern. This was Lin Su's intelligence. She knew when to give a man what kind of comfort. In fact, for a man, most of the time, he would hide all the pressure in his heart. Even if a woman took the initiative to ask him, he would not tell her, for fear that she would be worried. But the only thing they needed was understanding. Understanding was enough. As for the rest, they could withstand the wind and the rain. In a nightclub on the Bund in Jing, and Gu Xiaobo and Feng He, who had failed in their plan, led the four men to drink and indulge. Beside each of them sat a beauty in a long black dress. Originally, this matter was not reported to Yin Chaozong. It was planned by Gu Xiaobo and Feng He alone. So even if it failed, it did not matter. Although they also wanted to take advantage of this opportunity to kill Qin Sheng, it was a pity that they were one step behind. Feng He was very happy. "Thank you for your hard work tonight. Let me drink to you." Everyone raised their glasses and drank up. Qian Tong's master said politely, "This is what we should do. It's a pity that we failed to do it tonight. I hope you can forgive us." Feng He said happily, "It's okay. There are many opportunities. Tonight, we can practice. but I have to tell you that the real masters have not shown up yet. The hunchback man who had almost tricked Qin Sheng said, "We did not try our best." "Ha ha. Then I'm looking forward to your collision." Feng He laughed. However, Gu Xiaobo said somewhat untimely, "I am afraid that this is the only chance we have. It will be difficult to find such an opportunity in the future." Feng He stared at Gu Xiaobo and said, "Are you blaming me for not planning well? Isn't it? If it were not for the problem in Jia Bei, we would definitely succeed here." Gu Xiaobo said bluntly. Feng He did not want to care about this. He said, "It's over. Don't forget that this time we are just trying." "Okay, you have the final say. Then what should we do next?" Gu Xiaobo snorted. Feng He said thoughtfully, "Don't worry. Young Master has a bigger plan. We just need to wait for the news. This time, Qin Sheng will definitely not be so lucky." Gu Xiaobo squinted and stared at Feng He. He did not doubt what Feng He said. He was just wondering what Yin Chaozong's plan would be. Nothing happened that night. The next day, an old man came to the bund. This old man used to be proud and arrogant. He wanted to make a name for himself in the bund. In the end, he left in embarrassment. Who would have thought that after he came to Zhejiang, he would be like a fish in the water until today? Chapter 627. Chapter 628, Must Kill Him. Third Master Wu's sudden arrival in Shanghai was not a good thing for Qin Sheng. Why did Third Master Wu suddenly come to Shanghai? That was because Yin Chaozong gave him a reason that he could not refuse. They were in the same boat. Third Master Wu had been in such a position, so it was impossible for him to be captured without putting up a fight. However, in the face of such a storm, allies who were powerful enough could not be defeated. This was the reason why Third Master Wu came to Shanghai. It was not that Third Master Wu had never been to Shanghai before. It was just that he had not been there many times. When he had first arrived in Shanghai, he had been attracted by this bustling metropolis. Like most men who harbored dreams and ambitions, Third Master Wu wanted to make a name for himself in this big city. Therefore, he advanced step by step as if he was walking on thin ice. With the help of several nobles, he was far ahead of them. Unfortunately, he encountered the biggest setback in his life. In the end, he was defeated in Shanghai. He had to admit defeat and left Shanghai in embarrassment. However, this was life. Fortune and misfortune depended on each other. Third Master Wu, who had left Shanghai, did not give up and was not satisfied with mediocrity. Therefore, he planned to make a comeback in Zhejiang. Relying on the connections he had accumulated in Shanghai in those years, he did not expect that he would become a big shot who could turn the whole Zhejiang upside down. Now, he was quite powerful in Shanghai. Maybe this was fate. Gold would shine wherever it was, and stones would be stones wherever they were. This time, Third Master Wu only brought Yang Deng, the only person who was close to him, to Shanghai. The others were ordinary bodyguards. He trusted Yang Deng completely. This foster son was different from other foster sons. Yang Deng took over his core resources. Of course, there was another reason. After that, Third Master Wu had investigated how Qin Sheng had escaped from Huangmei town. In the end, he found out that it was Yang Deng who had tipped off Qin Sheng. However, Third Master Wu suppressed the matter. He knew what would happen to Yang Deng if this matter was spread out. Yang Deng valued friendship and righteousness. He regarded Qin Sheng as his brother. Naturally, he did not want Qin Sheng to die. Because Qin Sheng had spared his life before, he had returned the favor. Third Master Wu understood this. That was why he paid more attention to Yang Deng. Yang Deng made him see his younger self. However, outsiders did not care about this. That was why Third Master Wu protected Yang Deng. Yang Deng did not know this. Therefore, bringing Yang Deng to Shanghai this time was actually an additional layer of protection. If Qin Sheng really dared to do anything to him, based on the friendship between Yang Deng and Qin Sheng, especially since Yang Deng had saved Qin Sheng's life, Yang Deng would definitely do his best to protect him. The older, the wiser. Among Third Master Wu's several foster sons, the eldest, Wu Yongchuan, had been in charge of Third Master Wu's affairs in Shanghai all the time. He could be regarded as Third Master Wu's agent in Shanghai. However, It seemed that Third Master Wu did not have much ambition for the affairs in Shanghai. Consequently, Third Master Wu had basically been in a stable state these years. Wu Yongchuan had also lived a leisurely life. In fact, Wu Yongchuan had been Third Master Wu's most valued successor in those days. Third Master Wu had already begun to let him take charge of many things. However, the human heart just could not be satisfied. Wu Yongchuan thought that he had already controlled enough power to fight against Third Master Wu. Especially with the support of a group of founding members and external forces, Wu Yongchuan planned to force Third Master Wu to abdicate and let him take charge of all the affairs. However, Third Master Wu was Third Master Wu after all. After decades of accumulation, he finally set up a trap for Wu Yongchuan and made him completely annihilated. At the same time, he also got rid of a large number of founding members. As a result, these young and strong people rose to power later on. Considering the relationship between Third Master Wu and Wu Yongchuan, Third Master Wu sent him to Shanghai to take charge of these affairs in Shanghai. After all, among so many foster sons of Third Master Wu, only the eldest, Wu Yongchuan, had the surname Wu. Because they were uncle and nephew of the same bloodline, they were just not direct relatives. In the beginning, Wu Yongchuan had been working quite hard in Shanghai. He wanted to regain Third Master Wu's trust. However, as he became more and more disappointed, he did not work hard anymore. Basically, all the affairs were done by his subordinates. Finally, he was completely relieved. Today, Third Master Wu suddenly came to Shanghai. No matter what, Wu Yongchuan had to wait in advance obediently. After all, he could have what he had today because of Third Master Wu, his foster father. His foster father could also destroy everything he had at any time. This was the earliest villa area in the Jing and district. The community seemed to be a little old, but its geographical location was the most prosperous place. Therefore, outsiders said that the richest people in the new beach period lived here. Third Master Wu had a big villa here, which he had bought in the glorious period of Shanghai. However, few people had lived in these years. Every time he came to Shanghai, he would stay for a few days. However, there had always been people cleaning and taking care of the villa. As soon as Third Master Wu's car stopped, Wu Yongchuan had already stepped forward to open the car door. He said respectfully, "Foster father, you are here." Wu Yongchuan was like an old Shanghai gentleman. He was a little mixed race. He was dressed in a suit and leather shoes, looking very handsome. Back then, his father had been a relatively famous businessman in the Bund. When Third Master Wu had first come to Shanghai, he had relied on his father's resources to make the original accumulation. Therefore, this was also the reason why Third Master Wu did not kill him later. He regarded it as returning the favor to Wu Yongchuan's father. Third Master Wu got off the car slowly with the help of Wu Yongchuan. He said, "Big brother, I heard that you've been hospitalized recently. How old are you? You should pay attention to your health." "Foster father, you are right. I will pay attention to it. However, foster father, don't worry. It is not a big deal. I just drink a little too much," Wu Yongchuan said with a smile. In fact, Wu Yongchuan and Third Master Wu only met a few times a year. Basically, they met 3 to 5 times. Third Master Wu did not come to Shanghai. Only Wu Yongchuan occasionally went to Putuo. Therefore, the relationship between them was very subtle, which was also known to the outside world. Third Master Wu let out a long sigh. If a man's spirit was gone, his life was nothing more than sitting and eating, waiting for death. Wu Yongchuan was like this in the past. He somewhat regretted that he was too fierce in the past, which made Wu Yongchuan lose his ambition. However, at that time, if he did not do that, it would be difficult to lead this team. Anyone would rebel in the future. At this time, Yang Deng had already gotten out of the car. When he saw Wu Yongchuan, he said politely, "Big brother." Wu Yongchuan liked this little brother very much. He patted Yang Deng's shoulder and said, "Bad boy, you have become stronger. How long has it been since you came to Shanghai? Drink with me some other day." Yang Deng was very grateful to Wu Yongchuan because this big brother took good care of him. Therefore, compared with others, he wanted to be closer to Wu Yongchuan. Perhaps Wu Yongchuan had been isolated in this circle. Yang Dang smiled faintly and said, I will listen to my big brother's arrangement. After Wu Yongchuan helped Third Master Wu into the villa, Third Master Wu directly waved his hand and said, Big brother, it is not early. You should go back and rest early. I will go to see your mother tomorrow. Wu Yongchuan did not say much. He knew that they would both be embarrassed if they stayed here. He said conveniently, Foster father, you should rest early. I will go back first. Yang Deng sighed and said, Big brother, let me see you off. The two brothers walked out of the villa side by side. Outside the villa, Wu Yongchuan lit a cigarette and said, Bad boy, do you know why my foster father came to Shanghai this time? Wu Yongchuan was very surprised that his foster father came to Shanghai all of a sudden. He was afraid that his foster father came for him. After all, he had been too lazy to do anything in recent years. It was not a good thing for him to do nothing in his position. Moreover, his foster father had started to arrange the succession now. It was possible that he was clearing the obstacles for his successor. He was definitely one of the biggest obstacles. Most importantly, his foster father had always been quite resentful about leaving Shanghai. He had always wanted to get involved in Shanghai. Therefore, he had made some arrangements later. At first, when he was sent to Shanghai, he thought it was an opportunity given by his foster father. It did not occur to him that after he had made a lot of achievements, his foster father was still indifferent to him. He was completely heartbroken and gave up on himself. Now, if the new successor took over this interest group, he would definitely go deep into Shanghai. Naturally, he would be out of the picture. Yang Deng thought for a moment and said, Big brother, don't think too much. My foster father really has no other feelings for you. What happened in the past is in the past. Wu Yongchuan said disapprovingly, Is it really in the past? If it was in the past, why did he still treat me like this all these years? He. Wu Yongchuan said disapprovingly. Yang Deng could not explain. He had to say, Big brother, I am not sure about other things. But this time, my foster father definitely did not come to Shanghai for you. He wanted to meet several big shots. I heard that they came from Beijing. Upon hearing this, Wu Yongchuan finally let out a long sigh of relief. He said happily, All right, you can go in. I am leaving now. I will ask you out another day. Yang Deng smiled bitterly. Take care, big brother. When Yang Deng returned to the villa again, the servant told him that his foster father had gone to the study. He went up to the second floor and knocked on the door of the study. After hearing that, he pushed the door and entered. Sitting on the purple sandalwood chair, Third Master Wu asked casually, Big brother left? Yang Deng nodded. He gritted his teeth and asked, Foster father, you really did not come here for my big brother this time? Yang Deng was somewhat worried. That was why he asked in this way. He did not want the relationship between his big brother and his foster father to deteriorate. What happened in the past had not been repaired yet. Third Master Wu snorted. Did he also ask the same question? After so many years, he is still so petty. If I wanted to deal with him, I would not have come to Shanghai. Yang Deng thought about it and agreed. Then, Third Master Wu said, In fact, my coming to Shanghai this time has something to do with you. Yang Deng was somewhat surprised. Me? Third Master Wu did not hide it. He chose to tell Yang Deng at this time for a reason. He said slowly, I think you already know something. That is, Qin Sheng is still alive. After all, what happened in Ningbo was very serious. If you did not know it, it would be a surprise. Yang Deng did not know how to answer. He had to say honestly, well, I know. After Third Master Wu found out the truth, he had a frank talk with Yang Deng and asked him to make a choice. He could choose Qin Sheng or Third Master Wu. If Yang Deng chose Qin Sheng, he would not kill him and would only let him leave. However, he would not care about what would happen next. If Yang Deng chose Third Master Wu, he would continue to train Yang Deng. However, he did not tell Yang Deng about this. Fortunately, Yang Deng chose him in the end and did not let him down. Third Master Wu told Yang Deng directly, He is in Shanghai now. That is why I came here for him. Chapter 628. I am not interested. Third Master Wu really appreciated his youngest foster son. The others had already been lost in this materialistic society. Some people were addicted to wine and women, while others were addicted to money and power. Third Master Wu was more or less disappointed, but he could understand them. After all, who could stick to their original heart in this impetuous world? Moreover, they had been living in such a life. It was too difficult for them to be independent. Yang Deng was different from other foster sons. Maybe because he was the youngest, he did not need to worry about so many things. Therefore, he had been the same Yang Deng all these years. He did not lose himself and stuck to his principles and bottom line. Therefore, Third Master Wu was not angry about what had happened that time. If Yang Deng had betrayed him for interests, Third Master Wu would have killed Yang Deng without hesitation, because he hated betrayal the most. At that time, the thorough talk after the self-investigation was a test. Today's straightforwardness was also a test. What Third Master Wu was afraid of was that Yang Deng valued loyalty too much. If he really accepted this interest group in the future, he was afraid that he would suffer a lot. Fortunately, Yang Deng's answer did not let him down. He was still the Yang Deng who could distinguish everything clearly. After getting the definite answer, Third Master Wu waved his hand to signal Yang Deng to leave. It's late. Go to have a rest. Yang Deng said nothing and turned around to leave. After going back to his room, Yang Deng was not sleepy. He sat on the balcony and stared blankly. Compared with the bustling Pudong, Jing, and was very quiet. He could vaguely see the brilliant lights in the distance. He did not know what had happened in Ningbo at the beginning. It was Luo Changgong who told him. After the incident in Huangmei town, Third Master Wu spent a lot of manpower and money to find Qin Sheng, but he got no news in the end. He could only be sure that Qin Sheng was not dead. As for where Qin Sheng had gone, he really had no idea. What he could do was to hope that his friend could be safe and have no more setbacks in his life. When Luo Changgong told him about it, he was shocked. Luo Changgong was also shocked. The reason was simple, because they all knew clearly what Qin Sheng was like a few months ago and what would happen to him in the end. However, a few months later, Qin Sheng could defeat Lin Songhao in Ningbo and make the local bully, the Lin family, lower their heads. How powerful was his background? Therefore, they were all doubting whether Qin Sheng had really done it. Was he still Qin Sheng? Where'd he go through? Luo Changgong was a little scared. After all, he had been involved in the matter at the beginning. Although he had a contingency plan, Qin Sheng did not know about it. Yang Deng was the key figure, so he took the initiative to find Yang Deng. Since Qin Sheng could overthrow Lin Songhao and defeat the Lin family, people like them might also have such a day. It was not that Luo Changgong thought that Third Master Wu was not a match for Qin Sheng. He was afraid that they would become cannon fodder at that time. Yang Deng and Qin Sheng had a good relationship. It was thanks to Yang Deng's information that Qin Sheng could escape. Yang Deng knew all this, and he did it on purpose. Hence, he hoped that Yang Deng could tell the truth at that time so that he could escape. Otherwise, it would be a little dangerous. Yang Deng squinted his eyes. He really wanted to smoke, but he held it back in the end. He had some resentment towards Qin Sheng. He had taken such a big risk to inform Qin Sheng, but after Qin Sheng escaped, there was no news about him. He could understand it. But now, Qin Sheng was no longer who he used to be. Since he could go to Ningbo to kill the Lin family and Lin Songhao, why didn't he contact his friend? He had been worried about Qin Sheng for a long time. He was afraid that Qin Sheng would have an accident or be caught. Hence, he was a little disappointed. He felt that Qin Sheng did not treat him as a friend or did not trust him. However, as for what they had said tonight, it actually had nothing to do with this. He and Qin Sheng were friends, but he was also Third Master Wu's foster son. They had to make a choice. After all, they were on opposite sides now. Qin Sheng had spared his life, and he had also saved Qin Sheng's life. They did not owe each other anymore. In contrast, he owed his foster father more, so he stood on his foster father's side. Although Yang Deng had said that he would definitely kill Yang Deng, he knew that when they met again, he would not be able to kill Yang Deng easily. After all, they were friends. However, after exchanging greetings and pleasantries, he would still kill Yang Deng. He did not owe Qin Sheng anything, but he owed his foster father too much. Yang Deng, who valued friendship and righteousness too much, finally fell into a dilemma because of his friendship and righteousness. Sometimes, it was good to be heartless in life. Due to the unexpected incident, his grandmother was hospitalized, and the 3 members of the Lin family came to Shanghai. Qin Sheng had to postpone his promise to Lin Su to go back to Ningbo. Fortunately, Lin Su could understand him, but she did not say much. Shangshan Ruoshui, which was preparing for the opening of heavy armor factory, now became Qin Sheng's base camp. Qin Sheng had already called Qin Chang on. He needed to get the right to use all the resources of the Qin family in Shanghai, so that he could go all out and fight with Yan Chaozong and the others. Xin had already returned to school. She had missed too many courses. In less than 2 months, she would have a holiday. She had to make up for the missed courses quickly and then continue to prepare for the postgraduate entrance examination. Lin Su also began to be busy. After all, the Lin family had moved its headquarters to Shanghai. There were too many things that needed her to be responsible for. Lin Shi and Wang Li were still living in the Park Hyatt Hotel. Qin Sheng had already started to interview the executives of the companies that needed to be reorganized. Today was the official first day. Lin Shi had promised to help Qin Sheng, so he went directly to the company after he got up. When Lin Shi arrived at the company, Qin Sheng was already there. He had already instructed the receptionist, so when Lin Shi arrived, he was directly brought to the CEO's office. Qin Sheng was chatting with Zhong Shan. At present, they did not need any external help. The so-called external help was more of the support from the headquarters. Such a large amount of work required them to do it personally. It seemed extremely difficult, but as long as the management system was established, the rest was very simple. After Qin Sheng introduced Lin Shi to Zhong Shan, and after greeting each other, Zhong Shan handed the documents to Lin Shi and said, "These are the 4 A-level executives. 2 of them are originally in charge of their companies. One is the vice president, and the other is just a senior executive in charge of the investment department. But he is very capable and has a good resume." Qin Sheng introduced Lin Shi to Zhong Shan. After greeting each other, Zhong Shan handed the documents to Lin Shi and said, "These are the 4 A-level executives." Qin Sheng had already read the information of these people. He also knew the performance of their companies and the specific departments they were in charge of. But more importantly, he still had to look at today's performance. Lin Shi browsed through these materials as quickly as possible. He already had some ideas in his mind. After all, he had been in business for so many years and accumulated too much experience, especially in the aspect of judging people. So, Qin Sheng took Lin Shi and Zhong Shan directly into the conference room. Just now, he had already greeted these 4 executives. After all, they were originally executives of several companies, and they might also be the core figures of this new company in the future. He could not be too cold to them. The long interview began like this. These executives were not simple. Zhong Shan was the main force, Lin Shi was the support, and Qin Sheng was more like listening. Occasionally, he would ask a few questions that might not be important, but for Qin Sheng, these questions could clearly see a person's ability and character. Sure, Maoshi Villa. Since his son's leg was broken, Bossy had been living here recently to meditate. He didn't care about the rumors outside. He only needed to comfort these people in his family, especially his wife. Anyway, he said that it was a car accident. It didn't matter whether they believed it or not. When Bossy went downstairs, several family members came. His wife was crying in the living room again. Bossy was a little annoyed and said, "He cries all day long. You spoil him. If he has 1/10 of the boss, I will die now. It's worth it." Bossy said, "Lao Yi, don't talk so much." A relative persuaded him, knowing that the atmosphere of the whole Yi family was not very good. Bossy continued to say, "It's fine as long as he is still alive. It's just a broken leg. It won't delay anything. Maybe it's also a good thing for him. He can completely settle down." His wife was still crying, and other family members were comforting her. Bossy was a little annoyed. Out of sight, out of mind. After Bossy walked out of the villa, he casually walked in the community, followed by 2 bodyguards, keeping a sufficient distance. Bossy had a good relationship with the boss of Shermao. The environment here in Shishan was very good. He bought a villa here for weekend rest and relaxation. When Bossy just walked to the lake, he met an acquaintance who was not an acquaintance. He had a lot of interaction with the elders of his family and knew that he was a young and promising junior. The young man also noticed him and walked over quickly. Uncle Yi, what a coincidence. Bossy squinted at the young man. If it weren't for him, his second son's leg might not have been broken. So he said very bluntly, "Is it really a coincidence?" Uncle Yi, I don't understand what you mean. The young man laughed. Bossy snorted and said, Chaozong, you should know what happened in our family recently. I also know what happened between you and the second son. How can you explain it to me? This young man was not someone else. It was Yin Chaozong. He originally wanted to visit today, but he did not expect to meet him here in advance. Yin Chaozong's grandfather also lived in Shishan, but it was not far away from the Purple Garden. Almost all the real rich people in Shanghai would buy luxury villas here. After all, it was said that the feng shui here in Shishan was excellent, not to mention the environment. Yin Chaozong did not know whether to laugh or cry. Bossy was obviously blaming him, but he was still polite. However, Yin Chaozong had a purpose. He came straight to the point and said, Uncle Yi, are you really going to let it go? Hearing this, Boss Yi, the old fox, had already understood Yin Chaozong's purpose today. He squinted and said, What? Do you have other ideas? Yin Chaozong said slowly, If Uncle Yi is interested, we can talk. Chapter 6:29. Escape the disaster. Boss Yi really didn't know what happened the year before last. If he knew at that time, he would not hesitate to stop his stupid son who was used as a gun. Unfortunately, he didn't know. After what happened that day, Bossy knew what happened at that time. Yi Muyang and Han Jingdong both told him the whole story. At this time, if they still didn't say it, they could only blame themselves for what happened today. When he knew that the mastermind behind it was Yin Chaozong from the Yin family, Bossy also felt relieved. If it was someone else, he might have to reason with them. But it was the Yin family. Bossy was somewhat helpless. Of course, he knew why the stupid son mistakenly boarded the pirate ship. First, he was fooled by Yin Chaozong. Who was Yin Chaozong? He was the future successor of the Yin family, a famous young man in the bund. How could a stupid son who only knew how to eat, drink, and have fun be compared with him? Second, this stupid son just wanted to use this matter to make friends with Yin Chaozong. After all, sacrificing a dispensable ordinary person and then using the successor of a Yin family who was destined to be famous in the bund in the future, anyone could make a choice between which was more important and which was less. Perhaps, for most people, they would make such a choice. Bossy didn't blame this stupid son. Unfortunately, God played a joke on everyone. Today, Yin Chaozong came to him. When Bossy saw Yin Chaozong, he knew what Yin Chaozong wanted to do. It was nothing more than to pull their Yi family to fight against young Master Qin. The reason why Bossy refused was that Yin family had the capital to fight. The Yi family didn't have this capital. In the end, they might become cannon fodder again. The most important thing for him to be able to get to where he was these years was that a wise man submits to circumstances. There were too many people in this society that you couldn't afford to offend. There was no need to worry about firewood as long as you were alive. But if you stubbornly fought to the end, it was very likely to bring about your own destruction. When it was time to be a coward, you should be a coward. Bossy refused directly, which made Yin Chaozong somewhat surprised. He felt that Boss Yi was not the kind of big boss who would easily admit defeat. Coming to this position today, who was willing to lose face in the bund? Uncle Yi, I thought you were the kind of person I thought you were. Yin Chaozong sighed. When Bossy heard this sentence, he somehow became interested and asked, What kind of person do you think I am? Yin Chaozong didn't want to talk nonsense, so he directly told Bossy, Uncle Yi, the Qin family is not as powerful as you think. They can't protect themselves. If you can really swallow this, I won't say anything more. Just pretend that I have never been here today. If you can't swallow it, you can listen to me first. Bossy took a few steps forward and said with a sarcastic smile, Our Yi family can't compare with your Yin family. Your Yin family is a big family with a deep foundation. You dare to fight against the Qin family, but I don't. Uncle Yi, who do you think is more powerful, the Yin family or the Qin family? Just tell me the truth. Yin Chaozong said in a tone that was neither light nor heavy. Boss Yi thought for a moment. He didn't know what Yin Chaozong meant, but he still answered truthfully, Qin family. Uncle Yi, you're telling the truth. Since our Yin family is not as good as the Qin family, why should I fight against the Qin family? Yin Chaozong chuckled. He was not afraid that Boss Yi would refuse. He was afraid that Boss Yi would not give him a chance to speak. As long as he continued to speak, he could open Boss Yi's defense line little by little. Boss Yi didn't speak and waited for Yin Chaozong's answer. Yin Chaozong said slowly, "That's because everyone pushes the wall when it's down. It's not only our Yin family who wants to make the Qin family fall. The Qin family situation is more difficult than we think. Moreover, if I don't resist, will I wait for the Qin family to take the initiative to find me? I also know what Uncle Yi is afraid of. Uncle Yi is afraid of the Zhu family. But the position of the Zhu family is doomed that they dare not act recklessly. Because the Zhu family and the Qin family are not on the same path, the Zhu family will not give up their future for the Qin family." The amount of information was a bit big. After listening to these words, Boss Yi really felt that Yin Chaozong's words were reasonable. Once again, he thought that Yin Chaozong was not a simple young man. His second brother could be played by him, and he could not blame others. Boss Yi was very curious about how Yin Chaozong knew these things, and where did he get the confidence from? What was the meaning of everyone pushes the wall when it's down? Boss Yi tentatively asked. No matter how bad the Qin family situation is, it's not something that the Yin family can fight against. Yin Chaozong laughed and said, "Uncle Yi, this is also what I want to say. Our Yin family is naturally not their opponent, but we have many allies. The enemy of the enemy is a friend. These friends are enough to put the Qin family to death. Then who are our allies? I at least need to know if they are enough. If they are all Tom, Dick, and Harry, it doesn't matter how many we have," Boss Yi said with great interest. Yin Chaozong did not answer directly, but said, "If Uncle Yi nods and agrees, Uncle Yi will naturally meet them. I can guarantee that Uncle Yi will not be disappointed, because our allies are all big families in Siju City. The grievances between them and the Qin family are much deeper than ours." If Boss Yi was still interested just now, when he heard Yin Chaozong's words, he suddenly felt that things may be more complicated than he thought, and more terrible, and may involve too many levels. Boss Yi's face changed slightly. At this moment, he just wanted to stay away from Yin Chaozong and this muddy water. Otherwise, the Yi family would really become cannon fodder. "Uncle Yi, what do you think now?" Seeing Boss Yi was meditating, Yin Chaozong asked again. Boss Yi said in a low voice, "Let me think about it." Yin Chaozong was not in a hurry. He felt that Boss Yi would definitely answer. Today's task had been completed, and he was only waiting for Boss Yi to nod. Therefore, Yin Chaozong said happily, "Then I will wait for Uncle Ye's news." After Yin Chaozong left, Boss Yi sat by the lake for more than 10 minutes, and then returned to the villa. The family in the living room had left. They should go out with their wives to relax. However, Boss Ye's eldest son was sitting in the living room waiting for him. As soon as Boss Yi came in, the eldest son of the Yi family got up and walked over. "Dad, I saw Yin Chaozong come to see you." Boss Ye's face was gloomy. "Come to the study with me." After the father and son entered the study, Boss Yi immediately said, "Eldest son, appease your brother's mood. If you can't, send him abroad for a period of time. Let this matter go completely." The eldest son of the Yi family was somewhat unconvinced. "Dad, do you really want to let it go? My brother's leg was broken in vain?" Boss Yi was not angry. He now had a feeling of relief. It seemed that he suddenly put down a lot of things and avoided a lot of trouble. He said earnestly, "Eldest son, listen to me. This time, things are far from as simple as we think. Yin Chaozong's purpose is not simple. If our Yi family is involved, it is very likely to become a victim. The family property that I have accumulated for so many years cannot afford to be squandered. Don't have any ideas. Don't contact Yin Chaozong. You must not. Otherwise, I will personally break your 2 legs. Boss Ye's words were so heavy that the eldest son of the Yi family was a little shocked. He did not expect that his father would say such words. The eldest son of the Yi family looked puzzled. Dad, what happened? There are a lot of things you don't know, and I don't know either. But what I can know is that our Yi family can't get involved in this muddy water. Otherwise, we can't afford the consequences. Bossy said loudly. The eldest son of the Yi family was not stupid. He had never seen his father so serious. It could be imagined that his father knew something that he did not know. Since his father had said so, the eldest son of the Yi family could not act recklessly. He nodded heavily and said, Dad, I know. He had to admire Boss Ye's insight and determination. It was precisely because of this that the Yi family avoided a disaster and did not become the abandoned child of the bund. In an ordinary tea house by the Suzhou Creek in Shanghai, Third Master Wu was chatting with an old man in his 60s who had come from afar. This old man looked even better than Third Master Wu. He had a rich look on his face. Anyone could tell that he was definitely not an ordinary old man. Today, the tea house was not open to the public. However, there were a lot of people in the tea house. The others were waiting downstairs. The 2 old men drank tea and chatted by the window on the 2nd floor. Yang Deng also followed Third Master Wu. He sat alone downstairs and waited. There was a cup of Cheeman black tea in front of him. However, it was already cold, but he did not drink it. Not far away, there were 2 people of the same age chatting cheerfully. Judging from the way they were dressed and the topics they were talking about, these 2 must be frivolous, rich playboys. It was said that one of them was the nephew of the old man in front of them. Yang Deng was looking at them. They were also looking at Yang Deng. They knew that Yang Deng was the adopted son of Third Master Wu. It was said that he was good at fighting, but they did not know how good he was. One of them was Shui Ku. When they were looking at each other, Yin Chaozong arrived late. As soon as he entered the tea house, he saw the 2 playboys and greeted them with a smile. It seemed that they were very familiar with each other. Later, Yin Chaozong saw Yang Deng and squinted his eyes subconsciously. Yin Chaozong was not in a hurry to go over. He did not expect that Yang Deng would also be there. He knew the relationship between Yang Deng and Qin Sheng. At the beginning, he had suspected that Qin Sheng had escaped because Yang Deng had leaked the information. However, Third Master Wu told him that it was definitely not Yang Deng, so he did not say anything. However, Yin Chaozong was still a little worried since Third Master Wu had brought Yang Deng here. Lao Yin, how is it going on your side? Shueko asked with a smile. He was more and more looking forward to the attack on the Qin family. Nowadays, there were more and more interest groups participating in this banquet. He did not believe that the Qin family could survive. Yin Chaozong said honestly, I have said what I should say. He is still considering. We just need to wait for the news. Shueko was a little angry and said, he really does not know what is good for him. If he is willing to be a grandson, let him be. He is not good enough. Yin Chaozong did not say anything. Instead, he asked, how is it going up there? Shueko laughed and said, we are talking. Chapter 630. Big Shot's fight. This meeting was completely planned by Shueko. Of course, there was also the matchmaking of the Big Shot behind him. After all, with his ability, he could not invite his uncle. Before his uncle came to Shanghai, he had talked with him in detail for a few hours. As for what they talked about, he did not know. However, what Shueko could guess was that the 2 families had reached an agreement on this matter. In the end, they just took what they needed. Shueko couldn't wait to see the ending. The ending was that the Qin family would be divided and devoured. They had their own plan here, and there was a deeper plan on the other side. As for Bossy, Shueko felt that he was dispensable. If he had, it would be better. He was not afraid of having too many allies. If not, nothing would happen. It could only be said that the structure over there was too small. The Qin family could scare them. Compared with Bossie's answer, Yin Chaozong was more looking forward to the meeting on the 2nd floor. He was very clear that if he did not mention the Yin family, he might not be able to make Third Master Wu make up his mind. However, at present, he really dared not let the whole Yin family support him. That was why he did this. This was also what Shueko had promised him. He wanted him to see the Shui family's action. In the private room on the second floor of the tea house, people sitting by the window could see the scenery on both sides of Suzhou Creek. The newly opened Suning Polaroid Hotel was diagonally opposite. Not far away was the new mansion in Shanghai, Suyuan Villa. Two old men with different temperaments sat opposite each other. They looked at the scenery outside the window and talked and laughed. The atmosphere was very harmonious. There was no intrigue or deception. They talked more about history and philosophy. Of course, they also talked about China's traditional culture, especially Confucian, Buddhist, and Taoist culture. Third Master Wu had done a lot of research on the Confucian, Buddhist, and Taoist cultures, especially the Buddhist culture. In recent years, he had read a lot about the Buddhist culture. Since he had lived on Mount Putuo for such a long time, it would be unreasonable if he did not know these things. Sitting opposite Third Master Wu was Shueke's first uncle. He used to be a university teacher. He originally taught China's traditional culture. However, he chose to enter politics later. Although he entered the official career later, he still liked reading. Now that he had retired, he studied traditional literature most of the time. Therefore, after the two old men met, they had a lot of topics to talk about. It had nothing to do with status or level. They just had the same interests. The pot of tea had been changed several times, but the two elders had yet to talk about the most important matter. It seemed that it was no longer important. Shueke's uncle's face was ruddy. Because he had dyed his hair, he looked like he was in his 50s. He had a strong official's aura, and his every move had the prestige of an official. This was the aura of being immersed in the officialdom for many years. I didn't expect you to have such a deep understanding of traditional culture, Shui Yin said politely after drinking a cup of tea. It was not that Third Master Wu had never met an official of this level before. Consequently, he knew how to deal with them. He smiled and flattered as he said, "What I have studied is just superficial knowledge. Director Shui is a master of Chinese classics. I still have a lot to learn." Shui Yin laughed. Nowadays, people called him Director Shui, and his real identity was a deputy director. However, this director was not an ordinary office director, but a deputy director of a committee under the National People's Congress. Most people who knew about the political system knew what level he was at before he retired. "Brother, you are too polite. At least in the aspect of Buddhist studies, I am not as good as you." Shui Yin laughed and said, "Anyway, it is fate that I can meet you today." Shui Yin knew something about Third Master Wu recently. They did not have any contact before. After all, Third Master Wu had served in the North before and had never been involved in politics in the South. However, influential people in Zhejiang were not people who could be underestimated now. In the future, he should pay more attention to them. Therefore, when his nephew invited him to Shanghai, he agreed. Of course, it was more because he wanted to talk with his nephew. Third Master Wu smiled awkwardly and lowered his head to drink tea. He was not in a hurry to speak. He was waiting for Director Shui to talk about that matter. They both knew the purpose of meeting today. Director Shui had experienced all kinds of situations. He said naturally, "Let's not flatter each other. We can communicate more in the future. Director Shui, if you have time, you can live in Mount Putuo for a while." Third Master Wu took the initiative to invite Director Shui. He also wanted to see Director Shui's attitude. When masters fought, no move was better than having a move. Shui Yin picked up the teacup and smiled. He replied, "I'm afraid that I won't have the chance this time. I still have some things to deal with in Beijing. I have to go back tomorrow. After I go back, you could take care of things in Shanghai." Third Master Wu was stunned. It did not occur to him that Director Shui's opening remarks would be so sudden and so simple. It was not easy to be an official. Third Master Wu did not know what to say at the moment. He was at a disadvantage. Shui Yin chuckled and said, "Brother, you don't trust me, do you? Director Shui, you are too serious. Since you came to Shanghai to see me, I can be at ease. I will do my best in Shanghai. After all, I have no choice." It did not occur to Third Master Wu that he would lose to Shui Yin in the end after holding on for 2 hours. However, Third Master Wu was not disappointed. After all, he was at a disadvantage in this matter. Director Shui had come to Shanghai in person, which showed that he had given him face. In the end, Director Shui revealed a piece of news. Some things were really like the rumors, which made him feel more confident. Hearing this, Shui stood up slowly with a smile and said, "That's all for today. I have an appointment with my friends. Let's get together next time." Third Master Wu nodded and followed Director Shui downstairs. They were still chatting about trivial things politely. When they went downstairs, the young people downstairs immediately stood up and looked at them, looking forward to the result of this meeting. After all, they did not know what was going on upstairs. Shueka looked at his first uncle. He knew the answer from his first uncle's eyes. He grinned and thought that his first uncle was really important. Seeing Shueka's expression, Yin Chaozong also knew the result. The biggest stone in his heart was put down quietly. When they walked to the door, Shui Yin turned back and said to Third Master Wu, "Brother, I will see you off here. We will meet next time. As for other things, Shueka will tell you. I don't know much about them." Third Master Wu chuckled and said, "See you next time." Shueka said happily, "Uncle, let me see you off." Seeing this scene, Yang Ding knew that this man, who made his foster father treat him with respect, was a big shot from Beijing. However, he did not know his specific identity. That playboy called him uncle, which meant that his identity was not simple. He also came from Beijing. Yin Chaozong and that playboy seemed to be familiar with each other, which meant that Yin Chaozong had a background in Beijing. However, he did not know what kind of role he played in it. When he saw Yin Chaozong just now, Yang Ding was also very surprised. He knew the relationship between Qin Sheng and Yin Chaozong and what Yin Chaozong had done in Hangzhou. Anyway, he had a bad impression of Yin Chaozong. However, he was on his foster father's side now, so he could not say anything. After Shueka left, Yin Chaozong said politely, "Master Wu, let's go upstairs and talk." Third Master Wu patted Yin Chaozong's shoulder gently and said, "Chaozong, you are really not simple." Yin Chaozong just smiled and said nothing. Yang Deng wanted to follow him upstairs, but Yin Chaozong's expression changed slightly. Third Master Wu immediately understood what he meant. He turned back and said, "Wait here." Yang Deng nodded. He looked calm, but he was quite resentful of Yin Chaozong. In the Pudong World Financial Center, Qin Sheng and the others, who had been busy for a long time and did not even have lunch, finally finished this round of interviews. Several executives had already left. The three of them went back to the office and further discussed. Qin Sheng took the lead and said, "Uncle Lin, Zhongshan, among the four of them, who do you think is the most capable?" Sheng Jing is the most famous in the industry, and his ability is beyond doubt. Moreover, he is relatively calm. I'm optimistic about him. Lin, she had a deep impression of this man. Obviously, this man had been in the financial system for many years, and he had a lot of experience that amazed Lin Shi. Qin Sheng nodded silently. This man named Sheng Jing had the most beautiful resume. He had served as the person in charge of important departments in the financial system, both at home and abroad. Moreover, the company he was in charge of now had a good performance. Everyone also thought that he would hold an important position in the new company in the future. Zhongshan followed up and said, "Needless to say, Sheng Jing is within my expectation. The other two are also good. They are all within our rating range. However, I'm most amazed by Xu Yong. He is known as a ghost in the financial circle of Shanghai. Many companies have spent a lot of money to recruit him, but it seems that he is not interested in job hopping. Moreover, many of his ideas and suggestions on financial instruments and system risks are quite advanced. I am optimistic about him." Lin, she said directly, "Xu Yong is good, but he has only been in the company for a short time, and he is too capable. I am afraid that when you can't give him the position he wants, he will leave directly." Zhongshan did not deny it. He echoed, "This is indeed a problem. It seems that we need to contact him privately." What Uncle Lin and Zhongshan said was basically in line with Qin Sheng's thoughts. He also liked Xu Yong very much. However, he was a little worried because he had just been in the company for a month. It was almost time. Qin Sheng had to rush to Shangshan Ruoshui and go to the hospital in the afternoon. He could not delay any more time. He stood up and made arrangements. "Brother Zhong, arrange the interview tomorrow. Send the specific time to me and Uncle Lin. I have something to do in the afternoon. I can't accompany you for lunch. Lin, she smiled and nodded. Go to your work. Don't worry about us. Zhongshan nodded. He still had a lot of things to do, not just the interview. If he wanted to gain enough trust from Qin Sheng and the Qin family, he had to show enough strength. Otherwise, why should he be trusted when anyone could do the job? However, Lin Shi just felt that Qin Sheng was so busy. Was this the life he wanted? Because Lin Shi had lived to this age, he understood a lot of big principles. For example, many people only cared about how high you could stand, how far you could go, how successful you were, how much money you could earn, but few people cared about whether you were happy or not. Chapter 631. Fight back after entering the summer. The temperature continued to rise. However, for a bustling city like Shanghai that never sleeps, even though it was noon, there was still an endless stream of pedestrians on the streets. The various beauties were the most eye-catching scenery of the city. In Changshan or Washui, there were 2 artists in light clothes in the hall on the first floor. They were the only artists left. The security department only had a few security guards left. In a big box on the 3rd floor, all of Qin Sheng's people were gathered. Chang Baji, Hao Lei, Tang Shi, Brother Wu, Bak, Lu Sun, and Wang Jian, who were in charge of Shanghai affairs, and a powerful man called Bao Fan. Bao Fan was a man who was about to turn 40, but he dressed very young and fashionable. He always had a smile that made people feel like they were bathing in the spring breeze. It was estimated that many girls were attracted to him. The reason why he could come here today was because of Qin Chang'an's support. He basically represented Qin Chang'an in Shanghai, which also showed his position on Qin Chang'an's side. Otherwise, some things would not be known by outsiders. These people could basically be said to be Qin Sheng's core figures in Shanghai. When Qin Sheng arrived, they were already there. Some people were talking in low voices, some were thinking alone, and the man called Bao Fan quietly looked at everyone present. After seeing Qin Sheng come in, everyone simultaneously stood up. Qin Sheng waved his hand and said, "We're all on the same side. Take a seat. No need to be so formal and polite." Qin Sheng casually found a seat and sat down. Then he looked at everyone and said, "Except for Mr. Bao, you all should already know each other, so I won't introduce you one by one. As for Mr. Bao, he is our family spokesperson in Shanghai. He has been with my father for many years, so you can trust him completely." Bao Fan slowly stood up and looked at everyone with a smile. Those who did not know Bao Fan now knew the identity of the man in front of them. They were just wondering why a stranger suddenly came and did not expect this man to be so prominent. Among the people present, there were also people who knew Bao Fan. Of course, Lu Sun and Wang Jian were the most familiar with Bao Fan. After all, many times they also had to listen to Bao Fan's orders. Brother Wu had seen Bao Fan a few times, because Bao Fan went to Beijing several times every year, but they were not familiar with him. You all know what happened last night. Although it was a close shave, the other party's target was obviously me. This is a reminder for us. Qin Sheng said very seriously, "You already know what I did in Shanghai in the past, so we are not in a safe situation now. We didn't find trouble with them, but they took the initiative to attack us. So we can't just sit and wait for death. Otherwise, we won't even know how we died." No one said anything. They just listened to Qin Sheng. "Where are our enemies? One is in Beijing. These people are our Qin family's mortal enemies. I'm afraid they can't wait for me to die. The other was my enemy in Shanghai, in Zhujiang. They wanted to kill me in the past, but I was lucky enough to survive until now. Now, they were afraid that I would seek revenge on them, so they made the first move. We can't deal with the situation in Beijing. Of course, we don't need to deal with it. The old man can keep an eye on it. We need to solve the problems in Shanghai and Zhujiang by ourselves. This is also the main reason why I asked you to come here today." Everyone's expression was very heavy, because they knew that they were going to be busy. The Yin family, Third Master Wu, and the old monk are our biggest opponents. The Yin family is in Shanghai, while Third Master Wu and the old monk are in Zhujiang. We can't treat them separately. After all, they set up a trap for me together. Now they will naturally join hands to deal with me. So we have to treat them as one. Qin Sheng analyzed calmly. Chang Baji echoed. Do you mean that they have joined hands? At this time, Bao Fan said slowly, I got the news that Third Master was already arrived in Shanghai and met Yin Chaozong. So your guess is very accurate. After Bao Fan finished speaking, Qin Sheng looked at him and was somewhat surprised. It seemed that Bao Fan had already prepared for a rainy day. Maybe it was the old man's idea. Qin Sheng said thoughtfully, in this case, what happened last night should be done by them. Otherwise, others would not be able to do it. Hao Lei said with some worry, we have a lot of opponents. I'm afraid that we don't have enough manpower. For example, those people we met last night, none of them are ordinary. Qin Sheng looked at Lu Sun and Wang Jian and said, Brother Lu, Brother Wang, how many people on your side are really useful? What Qin Sheng meant by really useful was naturally the kind of fierce people, not some ordinary people. Lu Sun and Wang Jian looked at each other and then said, most of the bodyguards can deal with ordinary people, but I'm afraid they are no match for those people last night. I think there are only two that can be used. At this time, Brother Wu said, if there is no other way, let Nangong or Uncle Zhuang come to Shanghai. Qin Sheng shook his head directly and said, the old man still needs people around him. Nangong is in the light, Uncle Zhuang is in the dark, and other people can protect the old man. Everyone felt that Qin Sheng was right, and it was not good to refute him. After all, it was not safe in Beijing, and such a big thing happened last time. They were outnumbered. Chang Baji thought for a few seconds and said, I'll think of a way. After Chang Baji said this, Qin Sheng knew that he might need to ask his master for help. He still trusted Chang Baji's master, but those people did not like to enter the world. At this time, Bao Fan asked, Young master, do you have a specific plan? Qin Sheng said slowly, the Yin family is our sworn enemy. There will be no chance for me and the Yin family to reconcile, so our main target is the Yin family. Third Master Wu is not necessarily going to fight to the death. Moreover, Third Master Wu is not a piece of iron plate internally. We have many ways to deal with him. I will go to Hangzhou when the time comes. Finally, as for the old monk, I will think of a way to pressure them. If they compromise, the rest will be easier to deal with. If they choose to fight, we don't need to be polite. Moreover, be it Third Master Wu or the old monk, they're all old and have begun to divide internally. This is our chance. We can look for allies. Of course, they have a lot of external threats. After all, there are many opponents who are restraining them. Then what should we do? Bao Fan asked with great interest. Qin Sheng had already thought of a countermeasure. He said, previously, we were too scattered. From today on, we will work as a whole and share resources. Shanghai and Hangzhou will be our two headquarters. Mr. Bao will be responsible for all resources and intelligence. The others will be divided into two groups in Shanghai and Hangzhou. But who is willing to go to Hangzhou? If what had happened in the alley outside the hermitage last time was just a reminder, what had happened last night was a wake-up call for Qin Sheng. Qin Sheng had not been in a hurry to deal with the Yin family, Third Master Wu, and the others. It did not occur to him that these people had secretly taken action against him. This made Qin Sheng have to take it seriously. Originally, Qin Sheng had thought that these people would not dare to do anything to him now that his identity had changed drastically. However, it seemed that the situation was not what he had expected. Be it the Yin family or Third Master Wu, none of them took the initiative to bow their heads and admit their mistakes. Instead, they chose to resist stubbornly. This meant that Qin Sheng had underestimated them. At this time, Brother Wu took the lead and said, Young master, if you trust me, I am willing to bring Bahi to Hangzhou. Qin Sheng was a little surprised. He did not expect that Brother Wu would be the first to stand out. He looked at Brother Wu and said, Brother Wu, the situation in Hangzhou is not as easy as Shanghai. Young master, if there is no challenge, I don't need to go. I dare not say that I will definitely complete the task, but I will definitely do my best, Brother Wu said firmly. He knew that this was his last chance. If he could stand out this time, he would play an important role in the Qin family in the future. Bai was a little confused. He did not want to go to Hangzhou at all. He was not familiar with the people in the place, who knew what would happen. But since Brother Wu had already spoken, he could not be a burden. It seemed that it was the same wherever he went, so he kept his mouth shut. Qin Sheng walked over and patted Brother Wu's shoulder gently. Then I wish you all the best. After I finish these things in Shanghai, I will also go to Hangzhou. After that, Qin Sheng looked at Lu Sun and Wang Jian and asked, Brother Lu, Brother Wang, who is willing to bring people to Hangzhou to help them? After they looked at each other, Wang Jian stood out and said, Then let me go to Hangzhou. No matter who went to Hangzhou, it was actually the same. They had worked together for so many years. Naturally, they knew who was more suitable to open up the situation. Qin Sheng let out a long sigh and said, Okay, from now on, Brother Wu will be in charge of Hangzhou, and Brother Wang will cooperate with him. Uncle Chang will be in charge of Shanghai, and the others will listen to Uncle Chang's orders. If there is anything, you can report to me at any time. At this moment, it also meant that Qin Sheng had finally begun to take revenge on the Yin family and Third Master Wu. At this time, Bao Fan walked to Qin Sheng's side and whispered in his ear, Young master, I'm still worried about one thing. Will the people in Beijing cooperate with us? Qin Sheng frowned slightly. If Bao Fan could say this, he must have received some news, but he did not know what the news was. Qin Sheng subconsciously looked at Bao Fan, and Bao Fan said truthfully, There is news from Beijing that Xue Ku and his gang have been in Shanghai recently. Qin Sheng immediately understood what he meant, but how did Bao Fan know about him and Xue Ku? Qin Sheng frowned and said, How do you know about Xue Ku? Bao Fan did not hide it and said, It was Butler Gong's son who informed me. He asked me to tell you that he already knows about what you did to Xue Ku last time, so he has been keeping an eye on Xue Ku. Moreover, the Xue family and the Qin family have always been on bad terms. The Xue family might be behind the attack on Master Qin in Beijing. Only then did Qin Sheng understand that nothing could be hidden from Uncle Gong's son. Uncle Gongsuan's meaning was very obvious. He already knew that he and Han Su had humiliated Xue Ku, so Uncle Gong's son was worried that Xue Ku would take revenge. However, Qin Sheng did not expect that the Xue family would actually be involved in what the old man had done in Beijing. Chapter 632. No choice. What Qin Sheng wanted to do now was to integrate all their resources, take actions separately, and solve them one by one. He could not keep his eyes on Shanghai and ignore Third Master Wu's group. After all, the Yin family, Third Master Wu, the old monk, and the others were jackals of the same tribe. Originally, Qin Sheng wanted to deal with the Yin family and Third Master Wu's group after a period of time. He wanted to finish the reorganization of the Shanghai company first. After all, this involved his future position in the Chang'an department. Could he be recognized, and could he take over smoothly? Qin Chang'an could not decide these things alone. He needed the approval of the major shareholders behind him because they represented different interest groups. However, a few things happened one after another, which made Qin Sheng a little angry. He did not expect that he did not go to those people for revenge, but those people wanted to make trouble for him. This was a little unbearable. Qin Sheng was a little confused about where they got the courage to take the initiative to attack. What Bao Fan said today reminded him that what if Sijio City joined hands with them? The Yin family and Third Master Wu knew that he would take revenge on them. If they did not take the initiative to admit their mistakes, they could only fight to the end. In this way, they must have enough strength to face the pressure from the Qin family. Otherwise, they could only seek death. Therefore, these people would naturally look for allies. Maybe they would find those people in Beijing. This was one aspect. On the other hand, if the Yin family and Third Master Wu were still hesitating and did not know how to face Qin Sheng, what if the old enemies of the Qin family in Sijio City took the initiative to find them? Common enemies, common interests, both sides hit it off, each took what they needed, and everyone was happy? The more Qin Sheng thought about it, the more likely it was. Because no matter Third Master Wu of the Yin family or those people in Sijio City, they were not ordinary people. How could he solve this situation? After the others left, Qin Sheng was lost in thought. He suddenly felt that he was facing a lot of pressure. Some people wanted him to die, Some people wanted him out. Some people were watching him make a fool of himself. Some people were looking on coldly. And some people were ready to take advantage of him. It was really lively. In the Palace Museum in Beijing, the cultural relics collected here were absolutely the best in the country. It could be called the largest ancient art treasure house in China. There were about 350,000 pieces of ceramic cultural relics. The Hall of Literary Glory was the permanent exhibition hall of the Palace Museum's ceramic exhibits. The main hall, the Hall of Literary Glory, and the Hall of Main Respect were the first exhibition rooms. The two side halls, the Hall of Benevolence and the Hall of Chivalry, were the second and third exhibition rooms. More than 400 pieces of fine ceramics not only reflected the vertical evolution from pottery to porcelain, but also reflected the simultaneous development of official kilns and folk kilns, covering a comprehensive range of products rarely seen in the world. At this moment, two men dressed in simple clothes were leisurely admiring these ceramic exhibits. The hunchback man walking in front was an old man who was almost 70 years old. His hair was white, and there were many age spots on his face. However, his eyes were very spirited. The old man wore coarse hemp clothes and cloth shoes. When he encountered an interesting collection, he would stay for a few more minutes. There were many tourists in the main hall, but no one knew that the old man had donated dozens of pieces of porcelain to the Palace Museum. It was just that the old man did not publicize it. If the old man wanted, he could ask the director of the Palace Museum to personally accompany him to the warehouse to see the collections that would never be displayed. However, the old man was tired of this kind of privileged life. He was now an ordinary old man. The man following behind was less than 50 years old. He was relatively well-proportioned and did not have the weight of a middle-aged man. His hair was also very thick, not like a Mediterranean hairstyle. Needless to say, his complexion and complexion were natural. It could be seen that this middle-aged man usually paid attention to health. The middle-aged man said respectfully, "Fourth uncle, you have to come here once a month. Ordinary people really can't stand it." After all, the old man in front of him was his elder. The old man, who was bent over and staring at a piece of Yuan dynasty blue and white porcelain, looked back at the middle-aged man and said, "I have nothing to do. I just want to look at it a few more times. When I can't walk anymore, I really won't have a chance to look at it anymore." The old man did not have any hobbies. Every time he went to a city, he had to go to the local museum. The old man felt that to understand the history of a city, one must understand it from two places. One was the museum, and the other was the local chronicle. In order to see the collections that he wanted to see, the old man had been to many places around the world. He had been to several major museums. For example, he could stay in the China Museum of the British Museum for a week. He went there on time every day and did not come back until the museum closed. He often regretted that these national treasures had been lost overseas. It was a pity that these things could not be bought back even if one had money. Therefore, whenever national treasures that had been lost overseas appeared in several major auction houses, the old man would choose to sell them. Therefore, over the years, he had saved a lot of money, but in the end, he had donated all of it to the museum. He felt that these things were left by his ancestors and should be left to his descendants instead of being owned by himself. In any case, at least on this point, the old man's vision was much higher than that of too many people. The middle-aged man laughed and said, "Fourth uncle, you are still young." The old man walked at a moderate pace, and the middle-aged man just accompanied him like this. They chatted from time to time without any impatience. Not far behind them, there were two casual staff, but they did not disturb them. When the old man felt that it was about time, the middle-aged man accompanied the old man out of the main hall and walked aimlessly in the Forbidden City. The old man was very familiar with a lot of history, and the middle-aged man felt that he was inferior to him. Finally, when the sun was setting and the afterglow of the setting sun shone on the entire Forbidden City, making people unable to distinguish the era, the old man said slowly, "Xin, you've been accompanying me for a day. Are you okay?" The middle-aged man, who was called Zhe Yuan by the old man, chuckled and said, "I think it's good to accompany fourth uncle to stroll around like this." I'm too busy usually. I don't know what I'm busy with. People like us are like this. We don't lack anything, but we are busy every day. At this time, there were no more tourists in the Forbidden City, and the staff began to clear the place. The old man did not need any special privileges and began to follow the tourists out. He sighed and said, "Yes, most people don't know what they're busy with in their lives, what ambition, desire, and so on. In the end, they're all high in the sky. But life is life, and we have to find something for ourselves to do. Don't you think so?" The old man's thinking was always so unique. The middle-aged man laughed. For people like them, no matter what, they had to move forward. They had to move forward. After the old man walked a few steps, he suddenly turned back and said, "You have accompanied me for a day. Say something." The middle-aged man had been waiting for the old man to ask this question. He frowned and said, "Fourth uncle, we can say something, but are you really sure? If I'm not sure, how can I ask you?" Outsiders all think that he has passed, but only a few people know that it is just a chance for him to breathe. The ending has long been decided, the old man said bluntly. The middle-aged man was very confused and said, "Fourth uncle, the relationship between your two families is so close. Why do you want to do this?" The old man was not surprised that the middle-aged man would ask this question. He smiled and said, "When a big ship is leaking, we naturally need to reduce the weight and throw away the things that should be thrown away so that we can continue to move forward." The middle-aged man sighed and said, "I understand." Obviously, that man had become a sacrificial pawn or a scapegoat. The old man continued to say, "Relationships and interests are two different things. We are not only representing ourselves. If I only represent myself, of course, I will not do this. But behind us is a big family, a complicated interest group. Even if I have the final say, I can't do this. What do you think?" The middle-aged man nodded and said, "You are right. This is also the reason why we can't rest no matter how busy and tired we are. Only when the arrangements are done can we stop. We're all responsible for this ship's development. It's moving a little too fast, and a tall tree attracts the wind. However, someone has to stand up and take responsibility. If no one wants to stand up, then we can only do it this way. We can't be blamed," the old man said with some emotion. Because of this matter, cracks had recently appeared in the relationships with many people. After all, there were too many people involved. The middle-aged man was silent for a moment and asked, "What did the Lee family say?" "He's already agreed. With Lee's personality, he's decisive, so you don't have to worry," the old man replied. They had almost reached an agreement on this matter, and there were not many people on their side. Moreover, the risk was very high. The middle-aged man seemed to think of something and replied, "I still don't understand. Why did the board of directors elect more people, especially Qin Sheng, last time? I don't quite understand." The old man smiled and explained, "There is always a compromise. Step by step." The middle-aged man continued, "Do you mean to let Qin Sheng take over? What do you think?" The old man suddenly laughed. This was impossible. How could they let a young man control this big ship? Qin Chang'an was Qin Chang'an, and Qin Sheng was Qin Sheng. They were two completely different things. Back then, they had chosen Qin Chang'an because of their friendship, which had been accumulated for decades, and they each took what they needed. The middle-aged man understood again. Today's information was a little too much. He had to digest it slowly. Everything is the most reasonable thing to do. Otherwise, we will all be in trouble. When the old man said the last sentence, his face was very serious. No one knew what he was thinking. The middle-aged man knew what the old man was thinking. A series of examples were there. If they did not make a choice, they could only be run over by the wheel of history. The middle-aged man thought for a moment and finally said, "Since things have come to this, we have no other choice. Fourth uncle, you have the final say." Hearing this, the old man chuckled. On the way home, the old man specially asked the driver to take a lap on Chang'an Street. The driver did not understand. After all, the old man should have taken this road many times since he was a child. Why did he want to take a lap? The old man looked at Chang'an Street, which was just lit up. No one knew what he was thinking. Every inch of land on this street was built with power. People came and went in a hurry. They all wanted to leave their footprints here. How many people had failed here? Therefore, the reason why he did this was very simple. Chapter 633. His condition worsened since they had the same goal and common interests. They could never have too many allies. Of course, they had to be at a high level. However, Fourth Uncle's plan was different from Yin Chaozong's and Third Master Wu's. Fourth Uncle's plan was for the interests of the Chong and group. When the Chong and group fell and the Qin family was out of the game, who wouldn't covet such a big piece of cake? Fourth Uncle was very clear that he couldn't eat this cake at all, and he couldn't eat it alone. Otherwise, he would become the target of public criticism. At that time, if he offended too many people, he would have to pay a high price. Therefore, at the beginning, he had to get enough allies to participate in this feast so that those jealous demons and monsters could be deterred. The goal of Yin Chaozong and Third Master Wu was very simple. Yin Chaozong wanted Qin Sheng to die the most, not only in the past, but also now. Because of this man, his life had been in a mess for the past few years. Moreover, Qin Sheng's background was so powerful now. If Qin Sheng did not die, he would probably be the one who died. At first, Third Master Wu did it for interests and to strengthen his power in Shanghai. Unfortunately, things didn't go as he wished. Qin Sheng was lucky to escape, and the Yin family certainly wouldn't keep their promise. Now, he was afraid that Qin Sheng would take revenge on him. After all, with Qin Sheng's current background, it was indeed easy to deal with him. Therefore, he had to protect himself. As for the Shui family, they were the most interesting. They were enemies with the Qin family, and they didn't need any reason to make trouble for the Qin family. They were eager to see the Qin family collapse. As long as there was a little chance, they would not miss it. Therefore, they contacted the big shots behind the scenes like Fourth Uncle. Below them, they had guns like Yin Chaozong and Third Master Wu. They just waited to be the fishermen who took advantage of the situation. Most importantly, the Shui family had its own allies. Late at night, in the number 1 courtyard of Daitai in Beijing, an old man who was in his 70s was practicing calligraphy in the study. The old man lived in seclusion and rarely had any social activities. At most, he would go to Unmark to play Tai Chi and chess. At this time, a slightly fat middle-aged man in a suit and leather shoes pushed the door open and came in. He smiled and said, "Dad, you haven't slept yet?" The gray-haired old man looked up and said in surprise, "Why are you here? You don't have dinner tonight? I heard that you have been very active recently." The middle-aged man laughed and said, "Who did you hear this from?" The middle-aged man's life had been smooth recently. The 2 internet companies he invested in had just been listed on NASDAQ, and his value had increased a lot. How could he not be happy? "What's up?" The old man was quite satisfied with this son of his. Although there were many stumbles and setbacks, there weren't any big waves in his life. The middle-aged man was in a good mood. He said happily, "Dad, the Shui family took action. I heard from Xiaoning that Shui Yin went to Shanghai today. Shuiku is also in Shanghai during this period." Xiaoning was Gu Yongning. The middle-aged man was Gu Yongning's father, and the nearly 80-year-old man was naturally Gu Yongning's grandfather. The Shui family and the Qin family had been enemies for generations. They had been fighting for generations, but the Gu family hated the Qin family more. Old man Gu had quietly retired from the stage of Suzhou City because of the incident that had targeted the Qin family. However, that incident had made the entire Gu family hate the Qin family to the bone. That was, Qin Chang'an had plotted to kill Old Master Gu's youngest son, who was also Gu Yongning's youngest uncle. Even Shui Yin has come forward. Old Master Gu was very surprised. He didn't expect that even Shui Yin would take the initiative to come forward. Gu Yongning's father said slowly, "Dad, don't you feel that the atmosphere is a bit strange? It's too quiet. The Shui family has taken action. What should we do?" Old Master Gu was not in a hurry. He asked casually, "What has Xiao Ning been doing recently?" "What would he be doing? Except for going to the company to work, he has been messing around the rest of the time." Although Gu Yongning's father said so, he was quite satisfied with his son. Recently, several of the company's projects were led by his son. It was said that like father, like son. Old Master Gu chuckled and said, "We are not in a hurry to take action. Xiaoning is close to that guy from the Shui family, right? Let him go to Shanghai to stir things up and figure out the Shui family's plan." "Okay, I will let him go to Shanghai now," the middle-aged man said bitterly. Compared with the status of the Shui family, the current Gu family naturally couldn't compare with them. They also couldn't get in touch with fourth uncle. After all, the Gu family had declined in the political circle, but they still had some achievements in the business circle. Otherwise, no one would remember them. Although old Master Gu said so, Gu Yongming's father was certainly not willing to be left out. Not to mention avenging his brother, he had been suppressed by Qin Chang'an for many years. How could he let go of such an opportunity? And Haikao, an old man who was about the same age as old Master Gu, had lived here for many years. Compared with the current status of the Gu family, this old man could be said to be prominent in the past. It was like an old man who was no longer in Jianghu, but there were still legends about him in Jianghu. "Grandpa, it's late. You should rest." The old man was sitting on the balcony, looking at the night sky and thinking. Fortunately, it was already summer, or the nanny would have muttered. The one who spoke was the old man's eldest grandson. He had just arrived in Haikao today because tomorrow was the old man's 79th birthday. For most people, it was the 80th birthday. However, the old man did not intend to be too high profile, so he asked his children and grandchildren to come back for a home-cooked meal. At this time, the others were chatting in the living room. The old man did not like to be noisy, but he could not be free from vulgarity, so he could only go to the balcony to enjoy the wind. The old man seemed to know a lot of things. He reminded him without batting an eyelid. "Ching Song, I know what you are doing outside, but it's not something you should worry about. You have to take a long-term view and look at the bigger picture. You only have one direction, and the rest is meaningless." The young man named Ching Song was very elegant. He nodded and replied, "Grandpa, I know." The old man did not say anything, as if he also knew that this eldest grandson would not be willing to be lonely. He could not worry too much, as the children and grandchildren had their own fortune, and they could only grow up after experiencing things. However, it had to be said that this eldest grandson of his was outstanding among his peers, and many people were envious of him. Ching Song squinted at the dark seaside. Among the young people in the whole of Suzhou City, in terms of shrewdness and skills, he was definitely qualified to compete for the first place. However, he always liked to hide behind the scenes, because keeping a low profile was the way of the king. The moon was bright, and the stars were sparse. The lights of thousands of families gradually dimmed until the first light of dawn came. At the place where the sea and the sky met, a round of red sun gradually rose. In Shanghai Ruijin Hospital, Qin Sheng did not go home last night, but stayed in the hospital to accompany his grandmother. He did not know why his grandmother suddenly fell into a coma after being admitted to the hospital, and several indicators of her body suddenly deteriorated, which made the whole Zhu family worried. Last night, Zhu Qingwen, Zhu Jiao, and his cousin Zhu Yi were all in the hospital, and they did not leave until the early morning, leaving only Qin Sheng to accompany her. Originally, they all wanted to stay, but they were persuaded by Qin Sheng to leave in the end. After all, Qin Sheng's physical condition was not comparable to theirs. Uncle Zhu Wei had already received the news and put off all his work. He would arrive in Shanghai with his aunt at about noon, and small aunt had already sent someone to pick them up. Qin Sheng could only leave the company to Zhongshan and Uncle Lin. Fortunately, Uncle Lin was in Shanghai these days and could help Qin Sheng share a lot of responsibilities. His sister Qin Ran was in Hong Kong these days, and she had a very important meeting today and could only come back tomorrow. Last night, she had already called Qin Sheng several times, asking about his grandmother's health. Due to his grandmother's special identity, Ruijin Hospital always had a team of experts on standby, and they would also contact experts from other hospitals to prevent accidents. Qin Sheng did not sleep all night until the doctors confirmed that her grandmother was stable in the early morning. At this time, Lin Su called to ask about her grandmother's situation. Originally, Qin Sheng had planned to take Lin Su to meet his grandmother in a few days. After all, his grandmother had already known about him, and she had taken the initiative to bring this matter up. Now, he could only continue to postpone it. "How is Grandma?" Lin Su, who was on the way to the company, asked with concern. Qin Sheng replied honestly, "The experts just left, and her condition has been stabilized. Yesterday was just a false alarm, maybe caused by Grandma's unstable mood." "That's good. Are you the only one in the hospital now?" Lin Su continued to ask. Qin Sheng walked out of the ward to the corridor and said, "Yes, I asked Small Aunt to go back, but she is already on the way to the hospital. I will leave after Uncle and Aunt arrive." "Okay, don't forget to eat breakfast and sleep in the afternoon. I will go to you early after finishing my work," Lin Su said with concern. After hanging up the phone, Small Aunt arrived at the hospital soon. Qin Sheng repeated the doctor's words, and Small Aunt was relieved. Even so, Zhu Qingwen still felt a little sad when she saw the old lady lying on the bed in a coma. Everyone knew that such a day would come sooner or later, but when it really came, no one could accept it. In the past, every time the old lady was hospitalized, the whole Zhu family would be affected for fear that the old lady would not wake up. The other people in the Zhu family had experienced this, but this was the first time for Qin Sheng. He had never experienced such a situation before. For example, his grandfather did not have any illness, nor did he suffer any pain. It was just that after he fell asleep at night, he never woke up again. Now that his grandmother was in the hospital, Qin Sheng was very worried. After he came back, he saw his grandmother, who was always smiling and kind. Every time, she would hold his hand and talk endlessly. Whenever he left, she would be even more reluctant. Therefore, every time Qin Sheng saw his grandmother's blurry eyes, he felt very sad. Now that his grandmother was hospitalized and lying on the bed, surrounded by all kinds of equipment, Qin Sheng's mood could not be imagined. In this kind of situation, Qin Sheng did not have the ability to change the current situation. He could only pray that his grandmother could pass smoothly and get better soon. Zhu Qingwen found Qin Sheng staring at the old lady in a daze and knew what he was thinking about. She patted his shoulder and comforted him. "Don't worry, the old lady will be fine." Actually, Zhu Qingwen could not guarantee that she was just comforting Qin Sheng. Qin Sheng forced a smile and nodded. Small Uncle could only come in the evening. Although he did not come, he asked his secretary to call Ruijin Hospital. The director of Ruijin Hospital was quite nervous. After all, last night, he had already received calls from various places in Beijing. After all, the old lady's illness affected too many people. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.